Matters Education and Aztec University student was charged before a Nairobi court with being in possession of examination materials contrary to the law. Oscar Brighton Elias Jango was accused that between March 7th and 10th at an unknown place within the country, he was found in possession of examination materials in a mobile phone relating to the content of the papers. The papers were for the year 2021 Kenya Certificate of Primary Education and Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education national examinations without lawful authority or excuse. The accused was charged with the second count of disclosing the content of examination papers materials to another person through a mobile phone without lawful authority or excuse. He is said to have committed the offence on the same date and place with others not before court. Brighton denied the charges before Magistrate Wendy Misheni and pleaded for lenient bond terms. He was released on 500,000 shillings bail or a bond of 1 million shillings. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The following takes place between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m.
SpiceFM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they are getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing. As much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a Fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning. What does it look like on our streets this morning? It looks like traffic has just begun in certain parts of the city. Nothing too crazy, at least not for the moment. We're looking at it building up on Mombasa Road, and it's just beyond the SGR, coming out towards the Cabanas and then out towards North Airport. We're also seeing some traffic coming up on the Thika Superhighway. That's not going to be too crazy, at least not for now. Looks like folks are just waking up to Tuesday. Jogo Road, a little bit here and there as you're getting towards the train station. But then after that, it looks like nothing much. Now is time to be out. If you need to be somewhere early, it shouldn't be too crazy from here on out. Then let's talk in a bit. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127. Let's keep things moving this Tuesday.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start
let's
your
start the day then.
It is the only way to start the day. Good morning. How are you doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. I don't know where Ednah had placed her camera. That was a good shot, Ednah. Camera was only capturing my somewhere
forehead.
My big forehead. Good morning. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the 22nd day of March 2022. Nduko.
Yes.
Hujambo.
Sijambo.
Wambaje.
Salama kabisa.
Na
wewe? I see you're wearing shades of blue.
Shades of blue?
Shades of blue.
Ndio hizo. Ndio hizo. Yes. It's true. It's true. You see well.
Was there not a song that was sung by Sashmo that had to do with shades of blue?
I see fields of green.
It was green, not blue.
And I think
And
to
then-
myself,
That what else do they say? Red roses, blue.
red roses too. Da, da, da. And
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Louis Armstrong.
Mm.
He was the guy who did the business.
City Muga,
Yes, Eric Latiff.
how you doing?
Very well,
How
thank
you
you.
doing?
Yeah.
I took your advice
Uh-huh.
and ate the sweet potatoes.
You did, ulikuwa na nini mingi sana. Ulikuwa mkali sana.
Yes, you kali. It's compliments.
Okay, ni sawa.
Kwa naongea na sister.
Ni sawa. Ujambo lakini.
Mimi si jambo, baba sijui wewe.
Mimi niko salama kabisa.
Ndo.
Yes. City.
Hofu kwako uko mzima lakini.
Mzuri sana.
Well done.
Hofu. I have no idea what that is, but you know,
You can take it.
roll with the punches.
Right?
Bring the hofu and it'll be okay.
If she says hofu ni kwako, sasa wewe ni nani ukatae?
Surely. Super.
Kama kwako ni hofu, si ni sawa pia?
Yes.
Maybe amekujengea nyumba hofu.
I want to know what hofu is, first of all.
Si ni kwako? Amesema hofu kwako. Yeah. Welcome everybody. Yesterday was what day again?
Monday.
Yes, it was International Day of Forests or
Yes,
International
it was.
Forest of Days, something.
International Forest Day.
Right. Today is World Water Day.
Mm.
Yeah, forests,
Then water.
water.
The creators of these days, are they aware that at this rate we're going to get confused?
Why?
Man, every day there's a day for something.
Yeah.
And this particular month, they seem to have very many of them.
Yes. Yeah.
March, April, May, like this.
It's a day.
There's a day every day.
The thinking behind it, one can understand.
Until June. I think the many international
understand.
days end around World Climate Day sometime in June.
Why?
What I can
I don't know. And then they pick up again somewhere around.
what I can understand.
Well, there's World Eric's birthday day in August.
It's also
It's
every
World Eric Day.
Yeah.
it's every year, just like these others.
Yeah.
You know, Eric, what I find particularly strange is that it is important to commemorate. And at this rate, the question you would ask is, where do we stop? Because if we need to commemorate everything that is important. So every day of the year, we are going to be commemorating something.
Yes.
So then you decide, I will commemorate this, and the others I will ignore.
On Thursday, we'll be commemorating World TB Day.
Yeah, that don't make sense.
Okay? And ahead of that conversation, we're going to host Dr. Andrew Mulwa, the Acting Director of Medical Services, Preventive and Promotive Health at the Ministry of Health. He'll be here with us at 7. We talk about World TB Day. TB, facts and figures around the country. How are we doing? So he'll be here at 7. At 8 a.m., we'll have an MP Dan Manzo. He'll be here. So we're moving closer to the end of the 12th Parliament, right? Sasa swali ni, these people, what have they done? Like we keep saying, this is one of the most educated parliament that we've had, one of the most exposed parliaments that we've had.
And yet.
It was the most, and yet, we have very many questions to ask.
Yes, we do.
So MP Dan Manzo will be here with us at 8 a.m. And then at 9, we want to talk about traffic accidents. There's a story in the Standard today. There's also a story that's been done by the BBC iAfrica investigation, talking about Kenya's killer roads. We'll be joined by the Kenya Road Safety Association chairman, David Kerie, who is a victim of a road accident happened to him while he was a lot younger. And he's dedicated his life to ensuring that there's a lot of public awareness and sensitization on road safety. Joining us also is Richard Chacha. He's a journalist and a survivor of an accident that affected him and put him on a wheelchair. So they'll be speaking to us at 9. these conversations and more. For that, you're here and we're grateful. COVID?
Indeed.
Uh-huh.
All right. So let's look at vaccination numbers. We're now at 29.1%. Been able to move 0.8% in terms of numbers of those who've been fully vaccinated over the last 5 days. Still the hope to get to 30% as quickly as possible. We'll see what the numbers then look like in June. 27,087,910 is the total number of vaccines that have made their way into the country. 17,000 total administered, 17 million, I beg your pardon, total administered, 7.9 million first doses, 7.9 million fully vaccinated above 18 years, 1.1 million 15 to 18 years have gotten the Pfizer vaccine, and there have been 269,852 booster doses. Now, while we're talking about booster doses, Pfizer and Moderna have said it's time for what? Another booster. But some vaccines experts are not so sure. The drug makers are requesting for a fourth dose. Are you surprised?
No.
Filed to the Food and Drug Administration this week, and they're likely to add fuel to the debate among scientists about whether an additional vaccine dose is necessary, and if so, whether it should be a new shot and only for certain groups. The move comes amid early signs that the US could soon experience another COVID wave as the Omicron subvariant, known as BA.2, spreads through Europe and other parts of the world. Other countries, including Chile, Israel, and Sweden, already allow for a fourth vaccine dose for certain vulnerable populations. So Pfizer and BioNTech asked the FDA Tuesday to authorize a second booster shot for people aged 65 and older, while Moderna asked the agency on Thursday to authorize a second booster shot for all adults. Research shows that the protection from the first two doses of either the Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine waned substantially against the Omicron variant through a booster, though a booster shot restored much of that protection. Now, both the CEOs of Pfizer and Moderna have argued in recent weeks that a fourth dose may now be needed to protect against a serious illness from Omicron. Are you surprised? To be sure, the evidence that drug makers have shared isn't all that compelling to some scientists, according to Dr. Jesse Goodman of Georgetown University, a former FDA vaccine chief. And they've said, from their research and from their understanding, they don't see the necessity of this right now. And they don't see how it could significantly help. It's interesting, however, that the CEOs of these two production companies for vaccines are insisting that a fourth dose is necessary.
So now, dose number 4 within 2 years.
Yes.
Sheesh, man.
Where will it stop?
That's it. What's enough? What's enough? How? When will they say, well, what is the cap? When you get to 6? When you get to 10? What's the cap? But notice that as they're insisting on this, who's insisting? Those who are selling the vaccines. They are the ones who are insisting and saying, from our research, we've seen that it will be necessary for you to get another one. What does that mean for them?
What it means is that they made the previous one understanding full well that you will need to make another one.
Exactly. And we will have more money in the bank if we did.
You see, we're going the flu way. Because with every season, there are new improved flu shots.
Indeed, there are.
Every season.
Every season, but every season we're talking about yearly.
Yes.
But this booster, we're looking at boosters in the span of 6 months.
Yes. Every 6 months,
every 6
you get a
months
booster.
you're getting a booster.
I am looking at the population that will get the booster. It's worldwide. Forget the flu shot. You're talking North America.
This is global.
This is global.
Yeah. How much?
And then it has been tied so nicely with, access to travel, access to world. So, you must get it.
You're locked in.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. It's interesting that they are the ones who are insisting on this. Meanwhile, medical experts are saying, hold on a minute, guys. Perhaps we're pushing this one just too much.
You've come a bit much. It's 19 after 6. Are we live streaming the show? Yes, we are. On YouTube and Facebook. If you're online, you know what you need to do. The roll call will be happening shortly. Say hello. Tell us where you're tuned in from this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
When you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack
is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves, return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well. Well, you need to Jeshi Lokop.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Cloudy conditions this Nairobi morning at 16, highs of 27 and lows of 15. At 14 degrees, Nakuru is clear. We'll see highs of 30 and lows of 14 today. 27 will be the high in Nyeri. It's partly cloudy at 15 this morning. We'll see lows of 13. 13 will also be the low realized in Eldoret, where it's partly cloudy at 14 and it'll go to highs of 27. It's clear at 26 in Mombasa, highs of 33 today. And we'll see highs of 32 in Malindi, where it's clear at 28. 21 degrees and clear in Kisumu, highs of 28 and lows of 19. While at 17, it's clear in Kakamega, highs of 28 and lows of 16. It's raining this morning in Kampala. We'll see highs of 26 and lows of 18. It's also showering in Dar es Salaam, highs of 32 and lows of 25. 10 degrees and clear conditions in Johannesburg, highs of 22 and lows of 10. Looking at rain showers in Lagos at 28, highs of 33 and lows of 27. It's clear in Kinshasa at 24, highs of 32 and lows of 23. In Beijing, sunny conditions at 7 going into afternoon Tuesday. We'll see highs of 11 and lows of -1. 7 degrees and clear in Paris, 19 will be the high and lows of 5. While in London, there's a haze over the city at 8 degrees. We'll see highs of 19 and round things off in New York, where it's clear Monday night at 11. Coming into Tuesday, we'll see highs of 17 and lows of 6.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right,
22
after 6.
Good morning, everybody. Benson Mumo says, good morning. And Daniel is tuned in this morning from Kahawa. Good morning. Bay Wa Macha is listening from Macha. Stanley Gashistan says, by means of water, we give life to everything. After World Forest Day, we have World Water Day. Okay. George Toll says there was
tomorrow will be World Day.
World what? World Day.
Yes.
Okay. Nisawa. George Toll says, good morning. A little shower in Kisumu over the night. No more dust. Well, hallelujah. Johnson Odero, good morning. Situation Room tuned in as always. County 047. Bele kama mfuko ya shati. Okay. Yobeshe is tuned in this morning. Rogers Lies, been a minute, tuned in from County 001, says, great conversation yesterday from the two major political parties. But Eric, you spared Mr. Earthquake. Hey, who is that?
Who's Mr. Earthquake?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But yes, indeed. Good morning to all of you. We see you guys trickling in. Asante sana for joining us.
Oh, Musalia Mutavat.
Oh.
Okay.
Je ne sais pas, monsieur. Okay. Lord Moore says, I wish I could share photos to show how dangerous our roads are now that you're going to talk about them. Yeah, there are quite a number of people who've had issues on the roads. They've not been, unfortunately, this is one of those stories where you hear about and many, many people can resonate with. I mean, we had conversations about them just a few weeks ago. In terms of roads supposedly being repaired, supposedly being constructed and worked on, but many people unfortunately have died at the hands of poor roads. So yeah, we're having that conversation. Thanks for joining us, guys. Good morning.
Karibuni sana. City, you know, today, I don't know where you're taking us, but let's hear.
We're still in Mali.
We're still in Mali.
You know, if your day arrives on a Friday, then and we
You
started
stay
on
for
a
the
Wednesday.
weekend?
Yes, exactly. We'll continue with you.
Oh,
but we're in Mali. After today, we will then move on to
another country.
Yes. Okay.
Uh-huh.
A hyena chasing 2 antelopes in the morning will go hungry.
As opposed to in the night. Sorry.
It's important to understand. Why morning?
Why morning? Sorry. Okay, please.
A hyena chasing 2 antelopes.
In the morning.
A hyena chasing an antelope even at night. Hyena antelope.
See, if you miss, you'll go hungry. It doesn't matter.
Hyena chasing antelope.
Hyenas don't chase antelopes.
Will they catch an antelope at all? Whether they chase 1 or 35.
In the morning.
You know, when a hyena runs, it appears to be running sideways.
Hyena chasing antelope in the morning.
You know, a hyena running, you know, vehicles have something called a center bolt.
Hyena doesn't have center bolt.
No, the center bolt is...
You make it a center bolt.
Okay. A hyena chasing an antelope in the morning.
No, you said chasing 2.
I thought I'd give you a discount. Okay. A hyena chasing 2 antelopes in the morning will go hungry. Just go with the meaning of the proverb.
I dare say a hyena chasing even 1 antelope at night will go hungry, man.
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
Right.
Right. That hyena spent the entire night scavenging what was left over by the other animals. So it's just play.
Just chase 2.
I think this is a proverb that was written by hyenas. They were tired.
They were full. They were full.
We can handle.
What do you mean? Even 2
2 at a go.
10 and a pema asubuhi.
Wait, can see us and we can see it.
Okay, so we're looking at the newspaper headlines now. www.standardmedia.co.ke, or so you have your smartphone. It's either Android or iOS. Go to the Google Play Store or Apple App Store and download the Standard e-paper app. There, you're able to read the paper and you can even turn the pages.
You know, they said if you log whatever today, they'll give you 2 days free.
If you do what? If you subscribe.
If you subscribe from yesterday, we'll give you 2 days free.
All right. So what are you looking at in the papers?
So there's a few bizarre stories. Let's start off with this one. How about we kick off Tuesday in a bizarre way? Why not? A couple digs up their son's body, hoping he will resurrect. I don't know if he's supposed to have been resurrected already and then they're removing him, or then after he's been dug up, then he will rise. Okay. Stay with me here.
Okay.
Police officers in Kisumu East had foiled an attempt by a couple to exhume the body of their 9-year-old son. They hoped he would resurrect. In an incident that has left neighbors surprised, Mr. Okoh believed a spiritual leader who told him his son, who was buried 4 months ago, would come back to life. It started after the Roho Musalaba Church of the Legio Maria sect elder told Mr. Obudo he had foreseen the boy's resurrection. The spiritual leader told the couple that the boy would resurrect on Sunday night, no less. The church members had helped the couple, together with other family members, to dig up the boy's body. But shocked neighbors alerted the police, who stormed the homestead and found them digging. They had already scooped half of the soil from the grave and were almost removing the coffin before officers arrived. Neighbor Maureen Odhiambo said the couple believed their son was still alive. Now, inside the grave, I don't know.
Probably.
This is what they believed. But previously they had said that They believe
he's
that if they
resurrecting on
remove
Sunday.
him, he would resurrect now on Sunday. So, all right.
What day is this that they're digging?
I tell you, just 1 minute.
Uh-huh.
It was the same Sunday. So it was the same Sunday.
So they believe that he'd already risen in the morning.
So now all they needed to do was remove the body and then they would see.
How old was the boy?
9. Okay. A team of officers from Kasagam raided the home and found the family digging. Area OCPD James Musiemi confirmed the incident, saying the couple had been summoned for questioning. The family was found having dug up the grave halfway and was stopped immediately. According to a police report, Mr. Obudo defended himself, saying he was only following the church leader's instruction.
Oh, yeah. So for how many days had the son been buried?
4 months.
For 4 months.
Yes.
And then the church leader says, you know what, I think your son is going to rise on Sunday.
Yes. He did not die.
And then come Sunday, then they're like, okay, so let's go. Now he is risen.
Yeah, today's the day.
Let's go
So
get
we
him.
need to help him remove from the soil.
Oy.
Yeah.
You know, when one talks about oversight of religious organizations, it is such incidents that now lends weight to that need.
Indeed.
Because this person is preying on the grief of these parents.
Absolutely. And the desperation that these parents feel, if somebody comes and tells you that just 4 fresh months after the death of your child, that there's a possibility that this child could rise again and be with you, you're still on the grief of that. What do you think they're likely to believe? Logic out the window, man. The grief overpowers logic in very many times.
It most certainly does. You're still missing the child.
Yeah.
I recall many, many years ago in the previous century, there's a very popular evangelist in this city who died. In fact, he used to hold his services at Globe Cinema. You know, you hear Globe Roundabout? It's Globe Roundabout because there's a cinema there. Big following. His name was Mrema, if I remember correctly. The guy died, dead. I believe I said what? Resurrect.
His man is not gone.
The body started rotting.
What do you mean?
No, it started, yes.
They left him in the...
They knew he's going to resurrect. They're coming there to pray.
At
put
the
him on
sanctuary.
Yes. Then they realized this resurrection thing...
you get as he be.
It's not quite going according to plan.
He's getting a new body.
Yes.
Let's just let this one rot.
Finish.
You see, again, that is now where people do not understand not only the teaching of scripture, but theology. Okay? This guy died. Death is there for a purpose. It is the same purpose for which we have life. Continuity. Now, somebody is saying that you're going to defy all that logic. Somebody has lived his time, he's run his course. He should move on to wherever it is that he had planned to move on if he had made proper arrangements. Okay? And now, here you are coming with this new... But that happens when people have been indoctrinated by a certain gospel. And it isn't very different from those who indoctrinate their followers with the prosperity gospel, which essentially is like trading on the stock market is actually even more secure. This one, they're praying...
This is gambling.
Yes. It's worse than gambling. Because it offers you surety. Gambling is pata potea, pata potea. This one, you're being told you give and you will get, guarantee. There are no such guarantees. Not in that form.
It's terrible.
Not as of spirituality, I just, you cannot bring rational thinking into spiritual realm.
No.
Start with the pharaohs and their belief that they're going. You come anywhere, you just cannot bring in. It's at some point there are those who will say, us guys are very rational in our thinking, but you question one or two things that they do, and you're like, so what do you mean? What explain to me this thing that you're saying that you are rational, you're different from the others, and yet you do this and it's spirituality.
It's crazy. The one who coined the phrase that religion is the opium of the people knew exactly what it is that he was saying.
Karl Marx.
It was Karl Marx. And because look at the trance that people will get into on this belief.
What makes the trance, as you call it, possible is what often concerns me. Because it offers an escape from a reality that is so harsh. You'd rather focus on infinity rather than focus on your daily miserable life.
Of course.
But I think we're wired that way as humans.
We
so
are.
Everywhere in the world, there's some form of,
yes,
that
we are.
Belief in something else.
Beyond us.
Beyond us.
And those who are the smart ones are the ones who now exploit it.
Yeah. unfortunately.
It's 26 to 7. Let's take a quick one. Let's take a look at the traffic. It's 22nd. There were all these rumors yesterday. The expressway has been opened. Ken has said, guys. Bado kidogo. Hata rais hajatumia hiyo barabara bwana, simutulie.
Yeah, but that bit near ABC.
There are bits.
No, it's called piloting.
Yeah, there are bits.
There are bits.
It's called piloting.
After ABC, you going that way, there's like a part where you find yourself...
Piloting. Yeah, Gateway Mall, you find yourself suspended.
Really?
Allah.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Forgiveness is always conditional. Even before God, there's nothing like unconditional forgiveness.
Government doesn't pay you pension until you retire. In fact, they have no money for you. The day you retire, they look for it.
This country is punishing many young people. These young people are more susceptible to be deceived, to be taken advantage of, and they're more susceptible to be bought off.
Let us also talk about where we want our country to go. You know, we are a population of very young people.
We're in a state of capture. The judiciary is under duress. Parliament is in the pocket of the executive. You don't sit and wait for the regime to topple itself. It will never do so.
By the way, let me tell you, these guys are so persuasive. I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
Cece, has anybody on this program said to you as a guest, saying, "Oh, shut up, we don't want to be told what to do"? Has ever that kind of... Has anybody been
I will not listen.
bit of advice? Because you're working on the premise that we should all pay heed to these proverbs. It's a very suspect notion.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start
6:30,
your day.
what are we looking at now? Seems that has built up a little bit beyond what we're seeing about 30 minutes ago. Not much on Mombasa Road this morning. Looks pretty good. In and out of the city in record time. The Southern Bypass also, there's a longer route, but maybe more scenic for you this morning. Langata Road just building up, but nothing crazy at the moment. We're also looking at Jogo Road, getting into the city, a little bit here and there. On Haile Selassie, this is just after the Kamkunji roundabout. That builds up also. Rilo Dinga Way looking really good, and you can connect to Ngong Road and out into the city without too much of an issue. Probably where we're seeing the most action this morning is on Thika Superhighway, and that's building up just past that Mathare 4 junction, and coming through the Utai Drift out towards the Pangani underpass. A little bit of traffic just there at Muthaiga Square, but then you get into the city without too much of a headache. It looks like traffic hour is not going to be beckoning anytime soon. Maybe a little bit later than normal. Coming out of Western, some action as well, but nothing back-breaking, at least not for now. How about we take a look in half an hour and see what it looks like a few minutes after 7 o'clock. Tell us what you see. Tell us where you might be stuck or where you find a good route to SpiceFM. KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, 22 to 7. So, let me tell you a story.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
As I always like you to do when I'm telling you these stories.
Let me tell you a story.
Yes. Stephen Kimani.
Stephen Kimani.
40 years old.
Great.
And there is a 17-year-old Form 4 student called Elijah. Okay? Stephen Kimani operates a taxi business in Nairobi. Elijah is a Form 4 student at a school in Nairobi. See KCSE happening. Elijah, KCSE student, candidate. Okay? Now, the student approaches the driver, Stephen Kimani, and tells him, I'd like you to do a job for me. Elijah claims he has a patient at Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital whom the family wanted transferred to the Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital for further treatment. Kimani does not have any reason to doubt the teenager, and so the two settle on 30,000 shillings for the 500-kilometer trip from Nairobi get to Kisii, pick patient from Kisii Hospital, bring patient to
Nairobi.
KUTRH.
Okay.
All right. 30,000 shillings. Well, it's not clear why Elijah would hire a taxi from Nairobi instead of the family in Kisii hiring a taxi from Kisii to bring the patient to Nairobi. But anyway, that's not the question that Stephen Kimani is interested in asking. Biashara imekuja, tufanye biashara.
Ndio.
So they set off for Kisii around midnight on this day. Elijah informs his contact in Kisii, identified as Maxwell, that they are on the way. The taxi pulls up at the Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital at 9 a.m. on the 12th of February. As Elijah and Kimani are having breakfast, the client in this case being who? Elijah, pretends to call a relative of the patient to inform them that they have arrived. Nyangoya, now he's a new guy, Maxwell Nyangoya, 22 years old, joins them, and they say the patient's relative, who is to pay for the taxi, is in Kericho town. They wait, but the person does not show up. It's getting late. They have arrived. They left Nairobi at midnight, get to Kisii at 9 a.m., go straight to the Kisii hospital.
Yeah.
The Elijah calls relative. Relative does not come, but Maxwell Nyangoya comes and joins them. Maxwell says, this relative is in Kericho, so let's just wait. It was now getting late. Elijah and Nyangoya then convinced Kimani to drive to Kericho so that he could be paid 15,000 shillings as part of the deal. Right? Kimani is like, sawa, we're here. Nikisi. Na Kericho. Situende. They left for Kericho in the evening. Along the way, Elijah and Nyangoya allegedly turned against Kimani, according to the confession by Elijah. Elijah told the police that they stabbed Kimani in the stomach and the neck. They then dumped the body in a thicket at Kipranya village, Belgut sub-county in Kericho. Elijah confessed to killing Kimani jointly with another suspect. He led the officers to a thicket in Kipranya where they dumped the body. Officers from Sondu collected the body from the scene. They also recovered Kimani's motor vehicle, registration number KCW 782V, according to a police report. Elijah and his co-accused were tracked by the DCI officers to Kiamba Directorate of Criminal Investigations, who screened their mobile data. Elijah's father was also arrested after the vehicle was found in his compound. Elijah had returned to Nairobi and he was arrested on the 18th of March. Today is the 22nd. He was arrested just 4 days ago at Kenyatta University hostels, where he was being hosted by a friend. So DCI, track. Last point that Kimani was seen, last people, DCI track, DCI come and find Elijah at KU, arrest Elijah. They find he's a 17-year-old boy. Okay. Elijah sings like a canary and says, this is what happened. We actually lured this guy. I'm the one who hired him. We went to Kisii on the way to Kericho. We killed the man and we took the vehicle. What was the motive? We wanted to steal the vehicle.
Oh, it was the vehicle that they were interested in, not that they wanted to go to Kisii.
Yep.
Okay. They wanted this particular vehicle.
They wanted to. Elijah had just hatched a plot
to steal a car.
This was a plot to kill a man in order that you may steal a car.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious me. And how old was Elijah?
17. And his alleged co-accused is 22. The man they killed is 40. Police visited the scene and the body of the deceased was found with a stab wound on the stomach and physical injuries on the chest, the back and both hands. There was no sign of a struggle at the scene, which is about 500 meters from River Sondu Miriu on the border with Buret sub-county.
Okay.
These two didn't have a history. Elijah and the victim, Kimani, they didn't. So you can't really say that, there was some form of rivalry. He was getting back at him. Nothing.
What about these two young men? Is there a history of any criminality? Had they been at loggerheads with the law at some point?
Not reported. Non-reported, yeah. maybe these details will emerge later. Who exactly is this Elijah boy?
Very strange.
He's in a school in Nairobi. His parents are in Kisii.
It reminds me of a clip I was watching.
He has come, he has left a vehicle, and he has gone away, and the father has not reported that
the father has not questioned.
There's a strange vehicle here that has been left by
The father has not questioned.
Yeah.
Ask that simple question. There's a story that I think was in the media, did around the media. A gentleman who was part of a carjacking gang, who had now had a road to Damascus moment, and he was narrating what it is that they do. It begins with admiring a friend of his who always seemed to have money, being inducted into the gang. And how it is, on one day, they had carjacked a number of cars. Their job was to steal cars. They didn't kill anybody, just carjack you, the car disappears. What that tells you is that they had a place, there was a chop shop where they would take the cars.
Right.
They carjacked a flying squad vehicle. They stood, they would come in two cars. One blocks the vehicle, the other one is on the side blocking. They blocked. 4 guys came out fully armed. The guys at the front took off. The
ones on the side,
they
froze.
They froze. They were not killed. And it was near DCI, Kiambu Road. He narrates the story of how they were beaten with electricity wire. But it's painful. And they were told, my friend, you can go now. The next time we see you, you're dead. Just so that you understand. But for now, clearly.
As in they were set free.
They were told go. They were not killed. Said, you guys, you're young, it's clear, this is your first time. Next time we come across you, we are not talking to you again. You're dead. He stopped.
Because the MO is to kill people on sight. They don't,
Actually,
they don't.
What that showed me was, remember we've had this discussion on many occasions. There's someone narrating his story, not someone else's story. Is that when you hear police have killed someone, I am hesitant to cast judgment immediately. Because what do I know? It is reported this person was this. What do we really know? Now, this person's story illuminated this fact that they don't just shoot you. Usually they know whom they are gunning for. They know. They know you well, and at some point they've even had a conversation with you. It's a trend that we've seen from the days of Patrick Shaw. You are warned. You're told you will stop this habit.
They have your file.
They do. Remember there was a young man who was notorious, and his gang, they were a gang of rapists. They even had a name, Katombi. That was their name. If you read the story, and after their demise, they had been warned. They were told, my friends, this nonsense, you're going to stop it. And if you don't,
we're dealing with you.
No, we're dealing with you. Now, every time we talk about extrajudicial killing, as I said, I pause.
Yeah.
I'm hesitant to cast judgment and say there is just wanton killing. No. There's something to it. So, this young man, you can tell, this is not a seasoned criminal.
No.
And it was bothering him that they had killed the person. That's why he blurted out as he did.
That's why he sang like that, to the detail.
I mean, it's his first time he's arrested. Can you imagine? By the time DCI are tracking you like this, so they've come and grabbed you where you in your hideout at KU, Koja. You think they just sat him there? Yes, young man.
Tell us your story. No.
Mbona huko shule? Usi unafanya KCSE hii mwaka? Unataka kuwa nini?
No.
You know, Eric, there's something you always say on the show, and that is, if the DCI want to find out the truth about something, they will.
They will get you wherever you are.
You look at this story.
Nairobi, Kisii, Kericho, back
to where Nairobi. You were.
To where you are. To the room.
Yes, to the room.
They'll find you.
Crazy one. I'm sure you have another crazy one. But Siti, what are you looking at?
What I'm looking at, there are actually two things. But the one which caught my attention, because it appears, is 3 governors in trouble over graft.
Okay. 3 governors in trouble over graft?
Again.
Yes.
Trouble, graft.
There are 3 governors Governor of Tana River, Dada Godana, Lamu Governor, Faim Twaha, Vihiga Governor, Anwai Guru. Okay?
Yes.
Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission have finalized investigations against them. Remember, there were allegations, there were issues, but now they've finalized them. So now they're being charged.
File is ready.
Court.
They're being charged.
Yes.
The file has been taken to DPP, or has the DPP said yes, charge them?
Yes. They're now saying it's ready, they want to charge. It hasn't gone to court yet. But now, they say they have all the evidence and that they are now waiting to actually charge. And your reaction is appropriate. Why your reaction is appropriate? On that same page, there's another scandal. Now, this involves the Department of State of Corrections Services. There's for a whooping sum of 4.8 billion, which happened in 2019. It's still doing the rounds.
The 4.8 or the case?
It's a case. I mean, 4.8 billion couldn't be found. You know the way money is not found in this country.
What's the story there? Remember the other day we were talking about the same State Department?
460 million.
Yes.
Yeah.
This one?
This particular one of the 4.8, there were 18 companies owned by 4 people, one of whom was a senior support staff at the State Department of Corrections.
It's the same story.
Same story.
Now money is
4.8 billion.
It was 400 million.
It was 460 million. It has multiplied by 10.
Yeah, that's the total is the one I've just mentioned to you. Yeah. So, you look at this story and you're asking yourself, now, surely. And you know what the scandal was for? They were for the supply of bulletproof vests and submachine guns.
Oh.
This one, they actually got supplied.
This
because
is
the other one
the
is
other
different.
was food.
The other one was food.
Please
and
read the
nothing
story,
was
City.
actually supplied.
Let me read the story.
Just read the story.
Please.
Yes. Why? The Star has established that the EACC has uncovered 450 million scandal of the State Department of Correctional Services. Okay, there are 2 parts of the story, but as I read, you'll understand it, right? This is the second major scandal to rock the same department after 4.8 billion rip-off in 2019. At the time, 2019, senior officials regularly awarded 10 classified tenders, including the supply of bulletproof vests and submachine guns. Classified as in, classified.
Yes.
Right. No one was charged. Note, no one was charged for the 4.8 billion scandal, despite the EACC recommending the prosecution of high-ranking or high-profile officers, including the former principal secretary. That's what they recommended. Story
kaput.
Went. Fast forward, present. At the present time, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission says that 18 firms were fictitiously paid 450 million. 450 million for food, rations, and that were never supplied to 7 prisons in Nairobi. Okay. Investigations further established that the said 18 companies were owned by 4 persons.
One of them.
Yes, okay, this one is going to morph into one. One of whom was a senior support of the State Department of Correction Services. Okay, the senior support staff member owned 7 of the 18 companies. So 11 he didn't own.
Wait.
The report has put the principal accountant at the heart of the scandal.
This fella owned how many of the companies? 7 of the companies.
Yes. Now, according to this article, this is the bit of the article that I really like. The detectives, for instance, I'm reading, discovered that the accountant received 800,000 from the proprietor of Josel. They mentioned the name Josel. Imagination, surely. Josel General Supplies after he received. Josel, that is, received 12 million for the fictitious supplies. Meaning, you supply nothing, Eric.
Get paid 12 million.
You people are slacking.
And the only money you're getting is 800,000.
Just struggling.
Pay me 12 million, I only give you 800,000.
What do you mean?
Whistle. Whistle.
The good thing about this article, they proceed to mention the names of these companies.
What?
There was Josel, another one called Reen East Africa, okay? Rinisa was the one who got the money, 4.8 million, then wired 4 million to housing finance.
Bought an apartment real quick.
Yes. Not only did this one is not even leaving crumbs, full loaves. Even if you want to miss it, you can't miss it.
Can't miss.
The trail.
Shouting, here I am.
Come.
Mimi. Wow.
Anyway.
That's a crazy one.
This whole article, by the way, it doesn't just deal with that. It talks about roads and many other things, but we're not going to get into
corruption.
It's corruption.
And you say there's no money in Kenya.
Let's talk about this sad one in Nakuru.
Okay, go ahead.
So in Nakuru, there are several gentlemen from South Sudan who live in Nakuru. Okay? They live in a certain estate here called Mawanga Estate in Nakuru County. So one evening, one of them is accused by neighbors of molesting a young woman. Sexual molestation of a young woman. Neighbors make noise. People come, among them local boda riders. Confrontation with the South Sudanese people. The South Sudanese people, fearing for their lives, get into their house and they lock. What do the people do? The crowd gets fuel. They douse the house and it goes up in flames.
The house of the young men.
The South Sudanese
people.
Into the house,
Yes. So when they confronted the foreigners locked themselves up in their home at Mawanga Estate and made desperate calls for help. But as this was happening, the bodas bought petrol and set the building on fire. The victims were later rushed to the Nakuru Special Hospital, where Garang Chol Ajang, who was 22 years old, died while undergoing treatment. The others, 28-year-old Ajang Chol Ajang, 25-year-old Akuyen Chol Ajang, Gur Anyar Gur, who's 26, and Bul Garang Bur, who's 28, are nursing burn injuries at the Nakuru Level 5 hospital. They had accused the gentlemen of sexually assaulting a woman before they torched their house. They stormed the home, and during the confrontation, the 5 Sudanese locked themselves up. The attackers used petrol to set the house alight. This is according to Paul Maina, a neighbor. Now, this matter has taken a completely new twist. Because the embassy of South Sudan has sent a representative there, and the leader of the South Sudanese community in Nakuru, Kut Maketh Duk, said the bodas had a dispute with one of them and dismissed claims that the men had assaulted a woman. The reasons for the attack, though unconfirmed, appear to be a grudge between the boda riders and one of us. The accusation that they assaulted a woman is just a scapegoat. Officer from the Sudanese embassy, Andrew Kwol Agok, came in and said, please, police officers, please ensure justice here. And he at the same time called for calm with the rest of the South Sudanese community in the country, and especially the South Sudanese community in South Sudan, where there are Kenyans in South Sudan. Get where this story is going?
Yep.
There are Kenyans in South Sudan, and then they hear
that one of theirs has...
And the South Sudanese hear that one of theirs has
died, and fact, 3 others attacked.
4 others are nursing
injuries.
Burn wounds.
Not a pretty situation.
It is a crazy one.
Easily spiraling into a diplomatic row.
My friend, this.
It is a
because you're already looking at tensions that had been simmering from time.
Logic follows action.
Indeed.
Now, you see, as you tell me this story, the thing that came to my mind is that don't the border riders understand that issues pertaining to them are at a precipice? They're not out of the woods yet. Now, with such a story, what do you think?
I was hesitant to actually read out border because if the story as has been reported is about one person sexually molesting a woman in an estate, where do bodas come in? Yes, the attackers, some of them may have been riding bodas, but is it really the boda community in this estate that reacted?
Give a dog a bad name. Eric, where the problem arises is that the border fraternity have not taken seriously the matter of oversighting and controlling their members.
Yep.
And holding them accountable. And so long as they don't do that, if they don't have internal mechanisms, my friend, their reputation is already in shatters as we speak.
Any small matter. And there's one bike.
A bike, not a border rider, just a motorbike.
It is border.
Indeed.
Yes.
So it's a very sad one, this one. Keep it here for more conversations. Remember, we said in the next hour, we are speaking to some senior official from the Ministry of Health, Dr. Andrew Mulwa. He's here. We're talking about World TB Day, which will be commemorated on Thursday. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Nizwa. I'm Dennis Saseto. NAK Kenya party leader Martha Karua has finally broken her silence over her absence at the signing ceremony of the coalition agreement between Azimio la Umoja and Okoh coalition. She says she was sidelined by One Kenya Alliance co-principals in their decision to sign a political agreement with the Azimio la Umoja coalition that is led by Raila Odinga. In an interview with NTV, Karua says the whole purpose of forming Okoh was so that the parties forming the coalition would negotiate as one force ahead of the upcoming August election. She, however, says that our Okoh co-principals Kalonzo Musyoka of Wiper, Gideon Moi of KANU and Cyrus Jirongo of UDP went ahead on their own to join the Azimio la Umoja. Karua, who is seeking to be the next governor of Kirinyaga County, maintains that she is comfortable in NAK Kenya and is still open to negotiations with like-minded political players, including her former friends in Okoh. Now, Democratic Party presidential candidate Justin Muturi and Meru Senator Mithika Linturi have called on opposing political camps to conduct peaceful election campaigns despite their differences. Linturi, who is one of the kingpins of the UDA party in Mount Kenya region, walked into a meeting venue in Meru town where Muturi was meeting his Democratic Party grassroots leaders. Linturi was welcomed by Muturi and even given an opportunity to address the DP politicians before he left for another UDA meeting. He pleaded with Muturi to open talks with UDA presidential candidate Deputy President William Ruto and explore a possibility of working together. Muturi on his part said despite the heated competition across different political groupings, there is no enmity between the leaders. Now, the bicameral parliament is set to resume sittings today after a short break. The National Assembly went on recess on 4th of March while the Senate proceeded on recess on the 11th. This will be the third last meeting of the legislature, which is set to dissolve on the 10th of June this year ahead of the August 9th general election. The legislature returns to discharge a number of bills despite the limited time before dissolution. Before going on recess, the National Assembly had passed the Division of Revenue Bill, which is currently before Senate. The bill is a priority in the Senate since the country is now in the budget preparation mode. The budget is expected to be read earlier than usual due to the forthcoming general election. The seventh witness in the trial case against lawyer Paul Gisheru, who is facing witness tampering charges at the International Criminal Court in The Hague, revealed that he gave false testimony in the case against Deputy President William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang so as to travel abroad. The witness told the court that he told the lies in his 2012 testimony so that he and his family could have a good life abroad. According to the witness, they would customize information from the media to fit imagined scenarios. The witness, however, said that after reaching location, his friends started being eliminated and didn't know who was pursuing them, a situation that forced him to withdraw his testimony due to the unkept promises, including financial support and more so security. In June 2015, the witness approached investigating officers from the Office of the Prosecutor with witness interference claims. The defense accused the witness of lying to the prosecutors for a second time when he alleged that lawyer Gisheru approached him and also asked to locate a certain witness. Several witnesses who have testified in the Gisheru witness tampering charges claimed that they were bribed as well as intimidated so as to withdraw their cooperation from the court. Gisheru has denied all the charges. Tomatas Education and Masai Girls Secondary School Principal Ms. Rose Otieno is under investigation following allegations of attempting to leak the ongoing national examinations. Narok County Commissioner Isaac Masinde said the investigations followed accusations raised by parents claiming she was soliciting 3,000 shillings from each of the parents to help in leaking the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examination. He said the County Exam Multi-Agency Committee ordered her to leave the examination center and are currently conducting investigation. Still on education, and a Zetech University student was charged before a Nairobi court for being in possession of examination materials contrary to the law. Oscar Brighton alias Jango was accused that between March 7th and 10th at a known place within the country, he was found in possession of examination materials and a mobile phone relating to the contents of papers. The papers were for the year 2021 Kenya Certificate of Primary Education and Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education national examinations without lawful authority or excuse. He is said to have committed the offence on the same dates and place with others not before court. Brighton denied the charges before Chief Magistrates Wendy Misheni and pleaded for lenient bond terms. He said he was innocent. The court has released him on a cash bail of 500,000 shillings or a bond of 1 million shillings. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Seto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Few minutes after 7 o'clock, and what are we looking at? It's building on the Thika Superhighway, getting into the city really slow this morning, and we're seeing it going past the Outer Ring Junction, and we're also looking at Kiambu Road. Quite a lot of traffic here, all the way to the Muthaiga Square is where it's going to take you today. Outer Ring, what is it looking like? It's building up, then coming towards the Manyanja Road Junction, and also then towards Jago Road. All right, Uhuru Highway out into the city, that's doing the thing. Gong Road not looking too bad right now. Raila Odinga Way taking traffic off of Langata Road, where it's not too crazy either. All right, keep looking at it. Let us know what's going on. Hope you're having a safe morning. Talk to us, SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127. Let's keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
Oh yes, it's
the
7 minutes
only
after
way to
7.
start your
How
day.
are you doing? Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation this lovely Tuesday morning. It's the 22nd day. It's still the 22nd day of March since the moment we started the show. We have a guest in the studio. He's a friend of the show. He's been here before, but before we introduce him, let's hear the day's proverb.
All right. A hyena chasing 2 antelopes in the morning will go hungry. We concluded, Daktari, that this particular proverb was written by hyenas.
A hyena chasing 2 antelopes
In the morning.
In the
Not
morning
feeling well.
will go hungry.
Mhm.
That hyena needs to be taken somewhere.
Hyenas chasing antelopes.
Yeah. Need kuangaliwa.
If cheetahs have problems chasing antelopes
In the morning.
a hyena, which has a center bolt issue.
Hyena chasing antelopes in the morning. It'll not just go hungry. It needs to be looked into. The Ministry of Health is here. Taangalia mbite. All right, 9 after 7. Dr. Andrew Mulwa is the Acting Director of Medical Services for Preventive and Promotive Health at the Ministry of Health. Good morning, Daktari.
Good morning.
Good to have you again on the show.
Thank you very much. I think first time in the year. Happy
yes,
New Year.
By the way, Happy New Year, Daktari. You've been busy, I can imagine.
Quite a lot with COVID and all, vaccinations especially. Yeah.
Before actually we talk about TB Day, because that's the reason why you're here today, we're talking about preparations for World TB Day, which we'll be commemorating on Thursday. Vaccination. There are some 10 million vaccines that are not in people's arms.
Yes.
But we have 7.9 million people who are fully vaccinated so far. 17 million who at least received a dose. Yeah. So how are we doing? Is that a good progress or is that slow progress?
I think we must say we have done well, fairly well, in the beginning of the year, because now this is the week 10 or 12 or thereabout of the year, and in 12 weeks we have been able to do about 8 million vaccinations, which is fairly good performance. But when you look at now the granular data on daily vaccinations, after the mass campaign of February, beginning of March, the vaccination rates have significantly, of February, have significantly gone down. We are, however, because these are system issues, it's a programmatic issue. It's a question of are you reaching the citizens? Are you informing the citizens to create demand? Of course, the first responders have already been vaccinated. They have actually gotten their boosters. Now we are dealing with resistors. So we also have to change communication strategy. And in the coming days, I think you'll be able to appreciate how we are going to change the communication strategy and how we are going to engage the masses right from the community level so that we create demand in those populations that have not been vaccinated. So
what's the main communication challenge? I mean, what are you hearing from the ground, those people who are hesitant?
The hesitancy is mainly around, one, misinformations and myths that are around the vaccines, especially in the rural communities. When you look at vaccination rates in Nairobi, in Nyeri, in Kiambu, they are comparable to a developed world, 55%. 50% fully vaccinated, which is good performance already. Then the other thing is the perception of low risk. Everyone thinks now COVID is gone, and therefore it's not easy to convince them.
Thinking, they know.
They think COVID is here.
In their mind.
You know, I'm telling you, they know.
Yes.
It's because COVID hasn't gone anywhere.
Yes.
Okay? It's still with us. But their behavior is that it's a thing of the past. So that's someone who has internalized this false notion that COVID has actually disappeared, and it hasn't.
Indeed, it's true that the low risk, because infection rates consistently for the last 7-8 weeks have been below 1%. I think yesterday it was 0.2%.
2, yes.
Which, but we should always remember, we closed this country when we had 4 cases. So even those 12, 19 cases are significant.
They are significant.
Because this disease began from one person, as far as we know. And we actually closed schools when we had less than 50 cases. So they are still significant, so therefore COVID has not gone. We had globally seen a period where we did not have a resurgence of the epidemic globally. And that was giving us some assurance that probably we are seeing the tail end of the disease. But now we are seeing what is happening in some of the Asian countries. And that is already a signal that we may be having a new wave. Is it Omicron Delta or something that is already emerging? So we don't know how it will progress. This is a disease. Diseases don't read books. Diseases don't know Dr. Mulwa. Diseases don't know boundaries. We have seen. So maybe the next 4 to 6 weeks will be significant in terms of telling us which direction this disease is going.
There's a cautionary note that must be applied to these situations. would you say that the ministry is doing enough to communicate this cautionary note?
The ministry, I think, and we have been. I think COVID-19 response, we have been as consistent as a government can be.
Without a shadow of a doubt, the cautionary note is now,
Yeah.
because we were excellent when it came to ensuring that we cordoned it off. Our management of COVID was excellent in many, many ways. That's not my worry. My worry is now.
We also have to look at this disease from now, not an epidemic perspective, but an endemic perspective. So how do we learn? How does the society learn to live with the disease just like any other? Remember, accidents alone in the period that we have had COVID have killed more people than COVID-19. So you also have to have a balancing act that we are not saying we are putting our foot off the gas, but we also have to now learn the communities, learn the population how to live with the disease. And that's why issues of quarantine, issues of isolation, we keep revising, because now we have learned the disease. At the beginning, no one knew much about the disease. Now we already have quite
some knowledge
about the disease.
We have some knowledge. And there's still other diseases that are killing people. The fourth most deadly disease in the country, fourth among the communicable maternal and nutritional diseases, is tuberculosis. We'll be commemorating World TB Day on what is it?
So.
Yeah? Are you okay?
No, I was just making sure CT was all right.
Okay. So far, since the beginning, since the first case was reported in the country, how many people have died of COVID in the country?
5,700, thereabouts.
In 2020, 21,000 people died of TB.
Yeah, indeed, TB is one of the most killer infectious diseases in the world, accounting for 3 deaths every minute in the world.
Every minute in the world.
Yeah.
And in the country, that's also high, 21,000 people.
Yes.
So 140, I'm just looking at the statistics here, published in The Nation today, 140,000 estimated people who developed TB in Kenya in 2020. Among them, 17,000 were children. And they're highlighting the story here. Yesterday, CT, we were talking about the risk of blindness.
Yes.
And the ages even getting younger. There's a story of a young lady here called Christine Joki, who's now 24, who says, as the year began in 2019, she noticed that her eyes were not aligning properly, and therefore she was squinting whenever she tried reading signages on billboards. At first, I thought I just needed spectacles to correct the error that was developing, but even after getting them, I still couldn't read those posters. Situation prompted me to go back to my optician, who referred me to an eye clinic where I was prescribed an anti-inflammatory eye drop because the doctor who saw me said the dense, cloudy area that was forming around the lens of my eyes resembled a cataract. When he dilated the pupils, he could see some areas in the back of the eye, which he suspected to be inflammatory, and therefore advised me to use eye drops to clear them. Took the drops faithfully, used them for about 3 months. Initially, there was a slight improvement, but it did not last long, and instead my eyesight just got worse. I could not even read notes that I had written myself. In 2020, schools abruptly closed due to COVID. I traveled from my rural home in Kakamega to Nairobi, where I was in school, and told my mother that my sight was worsening. Mother decided, no, we are not seeing another one. Let's go to Lions Eye Hospital. The doctor who saw her gave her the shock of her life. He told me that he suspected I could be having tuberculosis of the eye, what he referred to as ocular TB. So there's TB in very many forms. And this is somebody who is basically saying she is going blind, and it's as a result of TB.
I think what is most common is and what people know is what we call pulmonary TB, which is the TB that affects the lungs, that presents as cough, difficulty in breathing, fever, weight loss. But indeed, there is what we call extrapulmonary TB, which can affect any organ of the body except the dead organs, which is hair and nails. Otherwise, TB can affect any organ in the body. TB of the skin, TB of the eye, TB of the mesentery, TB of the gut, TB of the lungs, TB of the kidneys, TB of the liver. TB can affect every living.
So
what exactly is tuberculosis? Dr.
Tuberculosis is a bacterial disease. It's a bacterial disease caused by a bacterium called Mycobacterium. And this disease, one, exists naturally and in the environment, and affects not just humans. There is TB of the humans. There is TB of what you call bovine TB, which affects animals as well, and therefore, and there is also cross infection. So TB there can be cross infection. Humans can get bovine TB and vice versa.
Wow.
So TB is a chronic bacterial infection, which usually is spread through air, which is airborne. So as I speak, the mycobacterium is spread in the air, and when it gets in the air, you breathe it in, gets to the lungs. From the lungs, it can get into the bloodstream. When it gets into the bloodstream, it can launch an infection anywhere in the body, in the brain, anywhere in the body, on a living tissue.
Okay.
And now, pulmonary TB is very easy to diagnose because someone will come with a cough, night sweats, all those classical symptoms of TB. Extrapulmonary TB, even for specialists, is not easy. So a lot of times, by the time a diagnosis is done, someone has been managed for other things, because you'll present with, let's say, for example, abdominal pain. By the time you realize it's TB, you have been treated for all sorts of abdominal issues. So you will present with a kidney problem. By the time it's diagnosed as TB, you have been managed for all sorts of kidney issues. A particular case is a case that you're just talking about. Someone presenting with ocular issues, with eye issues, will of course be managed for eye issues. Because that's the index of suspicion. This someone has come. They only have a problem with my eyes, so the optician, the ophthalmologist will suspect common things that occur commonly, and therefore it is difficult to diagnose extrapulmonary TB, and even at clinical level, the clinicians have to have a very high index of suspicion for one to think this is indeed TB.
So this is not one of those that we say, go for regular screening and all.
No, because infectious diseases, unlike non-communicable diseases, you get the infection. Once you're exposed to the infection, you start exhibiting signs and symptoms of the disease. Then it's from there. Then you get you get screened by a professional, health professional. Then that screening, of course, must be. If you come to me and I think you have malaria, I will treat you for malaria, however good I am. If you come to me and I think you have you have COVID-19, I treat you for COVID-19, even as a clinic, because all the tests that I'll do will be to confirm whether indeed you have it. And sometimes you do empirical treatment where you have a differential diagnosis, and TB. A lot of times, especially TB of the children, is very, very difficult to diagnose.
Is there a specific test, Daktari, that is done? You know how you have the malaria test or you have the COVID test, is there a specific test for tuberculosis?
Yes, there's a sputum test where sputum is tested for the you do microscopy for the bacterium. Then there is also what we call gene expert now, where there is a machine that's able to get the genetic material of the mycobacterium. So I think that's now the mainstay of diagnosis. When you do a chest X-ray, because all these are able, for someone who has a lung infection, you are able to see characteristic chest infection or opacity in the chest that will tell you this is suggestive of TB. You also have like now TB of organs. You have to do biopsy. You have to take a tissue and now do microscopy to determine whether it did it's TB. The beauty about TB is it's a chronic illness. It also gives you classical signs like lymph node. When we're doing clinical examination and you examine someone and they have enlarged lymph nodes, and they are not gaining weight, they are losing weight that is unintentional. If it's children, they are unable to thrive. You have to high index of suspicion this is TB. Then those other tests come as confirmatory tests.
You know why I smile and I laugh as I'm listening to you. As I'm thinking of a term I came across once called comorbidity.
Yes.
You see, everything that the doctor is saying are things I used to hear with people who are HIV positive. Somebody doesn't seem to get well. Yes, they have TB, but even when they're put on medication, the improvement is nothing significant. And all this time, no one has tested them for HIV. So when tested for HIV, they realize, okay, you've got this, we understand, but you have another problem, and it is this one. Now, do we have a system within our healthcare processes where when somebody has a certain symptom, that we consider the possibilities of the very many things that could actually have the same symptoms and look into it? Or is it that by the time you're appearing before a clinician, the clinician is so battered with so many things that they are likely to deal with what seems to be most apparent?
I think the training of medical professionals is a complex, and that's why it takes 6 years, and even for diploma courses up to 4 years. That is exactly the training. That when you go for training, you are trained on how to look at the patient holistically and look at all the possibilities. There are thousands of diseases. So when you come to me, I have to have in mind this. From what you tell me, is when now I start narrowing down what are the other possibilities. So that's why we don't create a diagnosis immediately. We interact with the patient. We get an impression. Then you say, I have an impression, this could be HIV. But I have differential diagnosis of 1, 2, 3. So when I send you to the lab, when I am doing my clinical examination, when I am doing sending you to the X-ray, I am now trying to narrow down of these 10 possibilities. That is the training of clinicians. And we have guidelines, we have protocols for management. If you look at the TB guidelines that we were launching last week, you will see these possibilities. So by the time you present with these 3 symptoms, these 5 symptoms, these are the differential diagnosis, so that we don't miss. Because remember, there are other diseases, even cancers, lymphomas, that can present like TB. So you need to have in your background that as I look for this, there is a possibility that there is also these others. So that's what we call differential diagnosis. So before we confirm the diagnosis and say, indeed, this is TB, we have to have a differential diagnosis.
Are there people within certain environments that are prone to getting tuberculosis?
Yes, people in congregate settings where who stay in areas where there's congregation, people like areas like prisons, people who also have HIV. You already mentioned HIV, TB co-infection is a major issue, and in fact the resurgence of TB in the 1990s, because we had sort of won the war against TB up to maybe late in the 90s, when now with emergence of HIV infections and immunosuppression, we have seen a resurgence of TB. So then that's one thing. Then when you stay in areas that in places where aeration, just windows, free-flowing air is not up, you are more likely. When you get exposed to someone who has TB for long periods in a place, that then the risk of infection goes high. So in other words, what I'm saying, in people who are in congregate settings, where overcrowding, where aeration is not possible, these are environments where spread of TB is higher.
Okay. So this is almost everywhere.
It's everywhere. That's what I was going to say.
Because you'll talk about schools. So how many millions of children are in school? Okay, that's one setting. You talk about
prisons,
and that's why the classrooms need to be well aerated. So because where there is, because I said this is airborne. So where there is flowing air, chances of infection are very low. Where there is no flowing air, like prisons where there is no air actually in most of the places, then spread is very high. So where there is free flow in air, you should not be worried much about the numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a quick one. We know that TB is one of then the opportunistic diseases for HIV. Are there then situations where by virtue of your immune system being depressed or deficient, then you could get TB? So do we then see, for example, children who have poor nutrition, children who may have been sickly because of other issues, are they then at a higher risk of contracting TB, removing the HIV factor?
Yes, indeed, that's true. That's true. When you have immunosuppression of any nature. Because remember, TB is the first vaccine that you get at birth. That's why BCG is given at birth. Because it is anticipated that by the time you take your breath for the first 3 days, you are already exposed to TB.
exposed.
Okay. So all of us seated here have most likely been exposed to TB. And because you have been vaccinated against it, the TB stays in what we call latent form in the body. So when your immunity goes down for some reason, you don't have to get infection from elsewhere. You will get infection from the TB that is already in you. But your immunity is able to manage it until you're immunosuppressed. So that's why TB in populations that have immunosuppression, that have malnutrition, becomes an issue because you have been exposed to TB from the environment. It is already new, but when you are good, your body is able to take care of it. But when your immunity goes down, then the TB now resurges. And that explains why the HIV-TB comorbidity is very, very common. And we give actually, in some of the immunosuppressed patients, we give sometimes prophylactic treatment against TB. Prophylactic means you give so that to prevent an infection. Yeah, because this person has a high chance of getting the disease, so you start giving drugs to prevent them actually getting the disease.
It's 7:30. Let's take a quick break. We are looking towards commemorating World TB Day on Thursday, but today we are here to understand what the Ministry of Health is doing in preparation for that. The Acting Director of Medical Services in charge of preventive and promotive health at the Ministry, Dr. Andrew Muller, is our guest this morning, talking about TB and any questions that you may have on TB. You can post them on our social media, SpiceFM KE, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and also on YouTube where we are live streaming the show. Let's take a break. We'll be back shortly.
No, this wheelbarrow, how can you give people wheelbarrow? His party symbol is an umbrella. Is he distributing umbrellas in McQueen?
Have you been told if we don't lock between 10 to 4, this is what we're saving?
You try and call them, the same person who was in your house every day, because they know you are influential and you will give them votes. Call them after 1 month and see if they'll pick up their phone.
Don't tell your member of parliament that you want him to come and build a school, you want him to come and do a hospital. That is not the work of the member. Now that we have devolution in this country, this resources should go to those devolved units.
You have to have strong, independent institutions. And you have to have police who has the right to take the biggest town in the country and question, why did you do this and that, and send them to court if necessary.
Joel in Kericho, good morning.
Salama sana Eric, habari asubuhi.
Salama kabisa. Mbunge wako ni nani?
Anaitwa Silvanus Maritim, hapa ni Ainamoi.
Silvanus Maritim, Ainamoi.
Yes. Sasa ile juma nampambia yeye nini? Amalize aende. Asante sana.
That's it.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
It's cloudy at 17 in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 27 and lows of 15. 15 is what it is in Nakuru. Highs of 30 and lows of 14. We'll see lows of 13 in Nyeri, where it's mostly sunny at 16, going to highs of 27. And we'll see 27 as a high as well in Eldoret, where it's sunny at 17 with lows of 13. Sunny conditions now in Mombasa at 27, highs of 33 and lows of 26. 28 and mostly sunny in Malindi, highs of 32 and lows of 27. The sun is out in Kisumu at 22, highs of 28 and lows of 19, while Kakamega is sunny at 21. It'll go to highs of 28 and lows of 16. Rain showers continue in Kampala at 20, highs of 26 and lows of 18, while Dar es Salaam is sunny at 25. We'll see highs of 32. Sunny conditions at 11 in Johannesburg. 22 will be the high and lows of 10, while it's raining in Lagos at 28. We'll see highs of 33 and lows of 27. It's partly cloudy in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 32 and lows of 23.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
James Gishuru onto Waiakiwe, coming out through Ring Road Westlands. It's doing the thing this morning, and we're going round to Chiromo. Not much then connecting with Wangari Maathai Highway or going towards the Thika Superhighway, but coming out of Westlands, an absolute mess. Not forgetting that you can use the Red Hill Link Road. There's an option to get out of the traffic that has started really early, just on the nose of traffic hour. Looking at Uhuru Highway from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout out towards Westland. So in both directions, we are seeing quite some traffic today. The CBD is jam-packed, coming in from all sides of the city. Let's look at the Thika Superhighway, which builds up all the way through to the Outer Ring Junction. So there's quite some traffic this morning, moving slowly, bumper to bumper in many parts. Kiambu Road in and outbound traffic still continues. And on the on Outer Ring, connecting with Juja Road, Manyanja Road, connecting also with Kangunda Road, that continues. Coming off Langata Road, still some traffic. Jogo Road also doing that thing, that entire industrial area circuit. We're looking at in and outbound traffic on Lunga Lunga. You get to Likoni and then onto the interchange, joining with the southern bypass off Mombasa Road. Not too bad, but it's slowing down considerably now that we've gotten into traffic hour. Let's keep an eye on things, folks. Help us to do this as well on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127. Let's keep things moving.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Mornings done right.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Ministry of Health is the Director of Medical Services. That acting bit we're going to drop, by the way. Okay? It's the Director of Medical Services in charge of preventive and promotive health at the ministry. We're talking about tuberculosis. Doc, you've said TB is one of those that are very difficult to diagnose. Now, in the case of non-communicable diseases like cancer, like diabetes, it matters at what stage you get diagnosed, right? In terms of now the treatment that you go into. Is it the same for cases like TB?
No, infectious diseases fortunately have TB, you have drugs. Of course, risk of complications. When TB is diagnosed in good time, treatment is always available. Even late diagnosis, treatment is available. The challenge is when you do late diagnosis, the challenge comes in with, like the lady you just talked about. She has to live with a complication, loss of eyesight.
So this cannot be reversed? If it gets to a point, ocular TB, you've lost sight?
You have lost sight because it has affected the nerves, and nerves don't regenerate. So even if you treat the TB, one has to live with some level of disability. But if diagnosis had been done early and treatment initiated, we would not get the complication. So TB is 100% curable. That's a good news. We, of course, have cases of multiple drug-resistant TB and XDR, which is now TB that is resistant to the commonly used drugs. We have first line, second line, and probably I'm talking about resistance to second lines.
Okay. What brings this about, this resistance?
Resistance means this TB one has been undertreated, and therefore the bacteria has developed resistance. It's no longer responding.
Okay, what do you mean by undertreated?
Like for example, I said this is a bacterial infection.
Yes, it is.
So when you take the usual antibiotics, it is affected. When you underdiagnose, you diagnose, I come with TB and I think it's pneumonia. What do I give you? Antibiotics. Antibiotics will actually slow TB.
The progression of...
But they will not treat TB. So what happens? The TB is slows down, then starts to mutate or develops resistance against the molecules. Or you treat, you are supposed to take dosage for 3 months, 6 months. You take for 3 months and you feel you are okay, you stop. Then the TB will have disappeared, but will not have disappeared. You will have no symptoms, but TB will have now
You've
mutated.
only suppressed it.
You have only suppressed it. Then it mutates in response to the drug that you are giving it. So the next time you get an infection or you spread that infection, it is not the TB that was responding to treatment, it's the TB that is not responding to the usual drugs. So, and the cost becomes extremely. To treat a TB patient probably costs about 20,000 or thereabout.
Yeah.
To treat multiple drug-resistant TB will cost maybe about 1.5 million.
Dr. Which is the most prevalent between the two reasons for undertreatment? Are we looking at undertreatment because of a miss or poor diagnosis, or are we looking at poor administration of your medication?
I would say, because I do not have advantage of having looked at studies, but both contribute. Where, because of poor, let me call not misdiagnosis, poor diagnosis. You treat, you undertreat because you think it's not TB, you think it's another infection, then someone feels they're okay.
But why would you think that it was another infection? Which goes back to an earlier question. Why would you think it was something else if you have the test and this person has been presenting with certain symptoms based on the impression that you talked about?
I think I said diseases don't read books.
Sure, but you also said that you get an impression
someone
as
will
a doctor.
present to you, and I'll give you a classical example of a friend that I will not disclose, who is very close to me.
Okay.
Had diabetes. Diabetes. Newly diagnosed, 53 years, diabetes. So they go for treatment. Then they glycemic control, their sugars under control, but they are losing weight. They lose weight. Of course, the doctor will think cancer. They screen for cancer, nothing. Doctor thinks, could this be TB? This, remember, is after 6 months or so. Could this be TB? The doctor says, they look, they test sputum, they do gene expert, nothing. And this guy is still losing weight all this time. Then they go, they seek a second opinion. After 6 months of TB treatment, and they're still losing weight.
Oh, they've treated for TB now?
Yes, because you have to do presumptive treatment, because you have looked for what else could be causing these symptoms.
And it may be just one of those diseases that is well hidden, but it's actually there.
So it does not respond. Then way later, a second opinion, third opinion, fourth opinion. Of course, he has seen. So one would expect someone would have seen so many doctors. All of them. We actually realized it's one of the drugs that that was causing the weight loss. One of the diabetic drugs.
Oh wow!
Which was causing as a side effect, which is a rare side effect.
Wow!
So this is now after
no
1.5 years.
Of even going through TB treatment.
Why even going through a full cycle of TB treatment? Why I'm telling you this is because sometimes patients don't present with what we know as classical symptom. You get 1, 2, 3, 4. It gives you this. No, diseases are complex.
Indeed.
Someone will actually present with pneumonia, and indeed it is actually pneumonia. You treat pneumonia. You do your test. It's negative.
But the person is still.
But still, the person is still positive. So there are many reasons that
How
you do
they-
a chest X-ray and you have what is called a typical chest X. The chest X-ray looks good, so you think, okay.
How did they figure out that it was the drug?
I'm telling you, that was after like 6th, 7th opinion. So someone just went to research what could be happening.
What is this person taking?
After all these,
After 1.5 years. At that time, the person I'm talking about was on wheelchair. He
has lost a lot of weight.
He had lost like 50 kgs.
Oh my goodness.
And emaciated. After withdrawal, he picked up. You meet him today, you know.
You wouldn't believe it. So a couple of weeks ago, we had a conversation, right? We had a conversation about antimicrobial resistance, right? And saying that the major cause of a lot of the resistance that we see is one of the things that you've mentioned now about not completing a dose. You feel better after a period of time. And then you say, okay, well, chuck the medicine, I can move on. Is this a major issue with under treatment when it comes to tuberculosis?
Is a really globally is a major issue. Even in our country, is a major issue. Remember, anti-TB drugs you take for a long time, between 6 and 9 months. I think now we have regimens that one would take for 3 months, which makes it even easier currently. But to take pills for 9 months, and it's not one pill, it's several pills, is not easy for anyone. Remember, we come from an environment where the health-seeking behavior is poor in the first place. That you only go to a health facility, to a health worker, when you indeed feel sick. In fact, the first thing, if you fall sick, that you think is, let me give it 2 days, it may disappear. That's our natural thinking.
More so in men.
Yeah. You give it 2-3 days. Sometimes you say, okay, it's now better. So
shake it off.
Yeah, shake it off. You know, that's the kind of health-seeking behavior environment that we are in. And therefore, it is not easy for us. And sometimes over-the-counter treatment that we go over the counter, you have this feeling, you say, give me, especially now even this period of COVID, people have azithromycin or all those sorts of stuff in their houses. So you self-medicate. When you go to the doctor, sometimes you don't even do the disclosure that you have done self-medication. So the doctor begins. So that is how under-treatment causes. Then, of course, issues of adherence is an issue. That's where in the TB has a program. And we have what we call directly observed therapy. We monitor patients, we give them doses, we follow them to ensure that we even have community health workers. For some of these clients, we follow them to their homes and actually observe. TB treatment, the first few weeks, you observe the patient swallow the drugs.
I have to ask
to
you this
make
question.
sure that
the patient actually takes the drug.
I have to ask this question.
Yeah.
Has the ministry increased the workforce of the community health workers? I know it isn't the ministry that is supposedly in charge, but you have oversight. Why am I saying this? If you're talking about the disease burden and the problems we have with even common diseases, in the absence of this follow-up that you speak of, our care-seeking behavior generally as Kenyans is, the moment I feel better, I stop taking medication. Because medication is supposed to be for when I'm really feeling bad. Now, if there's no one to follow up or to communicate what I'm supposed to actually do beyond the clinic, then to get the full benefits of the treatment or to get the full benefits of what it is that we are seeking to achieve will actually not be achieved.
I think from ministry perspective, we have over 90% coverage of community health workers in this country. And we are establishing what we are calling the primary healthcare network, where now the level 1, which is now the community level, is linked to level 2 and 3 and level 4, so that we have a hub and spoke model where we have the level 4 or 5 facility that is linked to several level 2s and 3s that is linked to several community health units. This system, we have over 90,000 community health workers today, all of them trained.
How many thousand?
90,000 currently in the
across the country.
Across the country.
These are direct Ministry of Health reports.
Yes, these are now. And remember, health is devolved.
Yes.
So we have to work with the counties to ensure that, because the training of healthcare workers has happened. we have trained community health workers in every village in this country, save for maybe 10%. Which
Every village?
Yes.
So if I go to my village and
ask who is the community health worker, they will show
I will
you.
be told.
Utaambiwa daktari wa mtaani. They are there. The challenge that we have had with this community health system is sustaining them. Because one, we call them community health workers, community health volunteers. Some do not get anything. So to move from one household to another, one needs a stipend. There are some counties that have started giving stipends long ago. Others that have just started. The vertical programs, where HIV program is one of them, in every county has community health workers. In every sub-county around facilities.
Right up to the village level, as you correctly put it, yes.
So we have people who we have engaged. We have a mechanism of giving them some stipend, supporting them through our partners, so that they are able to do this work. Because to move from one household to another, observing whether these patients... But the beauty about the TB program is we can account for every single client on treatment in this country by a click of a button. I can tell you, patient so-and-so is getting their treatment in this facility. They are now 3 weeks into treatment. They are being followed by this CHV. This is the health worker. For TB, we have that.
Everywhere across the country?
Everywhere across the country.
Both public and private?
Both public and private.
You know, one of the things about the TB program, and one of the reasons why COVID treatment and the management by the ministry took such a beating, is because of the efficient way the ministry has always run the TB program. I mean, when they set off, it is so well coordinated and everything that they set out to do actually gets done. This is the really strange thing. So when COVID came about, I was wondering, wait a moment, but the ministry is able to do this thing very efficiently.
You already have an infrastructure in place.
Yes, they do. You will be amazed at how they coordinate with the partners and how they actually work. Now, which brings me to the question that I want to ask, having praised the ministry for this wonderful work that they do. COVID, ensuring that we maintain the low prevalence that we have, making sure that community health workers whom we've trained are equal to the task and that they do what they're supposed to do. What is the government program for this? Because right now what we have is a gain, and it would be a wonderful thing if we just maintained it.
I think I'll start by saying the last 3 weeks, we have been out in the field engaging communities, now community health workers and communities, on this messaging, telling them how to ensure that the communities... And remember, in urban and city areas, it is difficult, fairly difficult to have this system. But when you go to the rural setup, it becomes very easy. Because the communities have places where they meet, they have ways of communicating, they have those chamas, they have all those things that they do on a daily basis. So we have been engaging the community health workers. Of course, communicating to them the risks of COVID-19, telling them the realities, showing them how to sustain or to maintain what you are saying. Then also embracing upon them the value of vaccination. I talked about that at the beginning of the show. Our major problem in the TB program, because I have to mention this, is the numbers that are undiagnosed out there continue the epidemic.
Right.
Continue the infections. Because in our country, we have about 140,000 infections in a year. We are only able to get about 77,000. So which we have 40% out there that is undiagnosed.
And is this as a result of them presenting to a medical facility with symptoms? That's how we're able to get them?
Some will not. These statistics are from us, from simulations. We know from the cases. They are not like people that we know and we have let them go. But these are estimates based on modeling. So in this country we have this number of people. So if we reach 140,000 people, then we have reached 100%. No country has reached, even developed countries have reached 100%. But we should be as close as possible to the 100%, to 140,000, 140,000 the patients diagnosed of TB in every year.
What's it going to take to get that?
What that means is we only get just 60% of the real cases. Maybe misdiagnosis, self-treatment, there may be unexplained deaths in the community. Those are the things. TB, infective TB, is 100% fatal. You get active TB infection and you don't get treatment, you 100% die.
Wow.
So that's the gravity.
By dying 100%, City, what does that mean?
It means the option of resurrection is zero.
So that
from where I say it means if you're 100 people and all of you get infective TB and don't get
treated. However, if you do get, I mean, I think even as
if you
scary as that
treated,
is, there's this other side of it to say that if you get it and you're diagnosed and treated, you could recover 100%.
Not you could.
You will.
You will 100%. Yeah.
You will recover.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Right.
So what is it that then the ministry is doing to capture this 40,000?
One of the major challenges as we have had these issues has been diagnostics. That the microscopy that I was talking about, sputums, do not get us a lot of times. You miss. You maybe get 80%, so you miss the 20% from diagnosis. Then the other thing is a training of healthcare workers on TB, so that we build their capacity on TB, so that they know when a child comes to you, they are malnourished, they have not gained weight, and they are not coughing, they do not have fever, the classical signs. You suspect TB, then you start screening for TB. So we have capacity building, diagnostics. We are now using Gene Expert, and we have Gene Expert now in every county, and we are acquiring more, so that we even move to the sub-county, so that in every sub-county we are able to do Gene Expert. Gene Expert is a new technology. It will, just like the COVID-19 test, it will 99.9% pick, and it is not human dependent. Remember, microscopy is me and my eye and what I am able to see.
Yeah.
So if I don't see the AFBs, and they are there, you will not tell me you should have seen, because it's human. It's
somebody else could see. Yes, you're looking through the microscope.
Yes.
Right.
So it's a question of then also the technique and all that. But now Gene Expert is able to pick. So we are.
So you're saying we have in every county.
In every county.
So let's say at the level 5s and level 4s.
And level 4s. Yeah.
So, but we still need more.
We still need more.
How much does it cost to get one Gene Expert machine?
I'm not an expert in procurement and finance, so but it's quite pricey. It's quite pricey.
So it's relatively expensive.
It's relatively expensive
to get this.
Yes.
Where I look at another disease which Kenya has been able to handle very well, polio. Right? Vaccinations. I mean, we saw the campaigns very clear about what needed to happen. This seems a little bit more tricky. So I wanted to ask, where does vaccination play a role in all of this? With other diseases, we see that you get the shot BCG at birth, but then there are boosters for children, for other diseases that your boosters, you have the 6-year-old, 9-year-old, even as high as 15 in some cases. Where does vaccination play a role for TB, or does it at all?
Vaccination actually is what has made the globe contain TB, and BCG is the first shot that every newborn gets. And when you develop immunity, is a life attenuated shot. So therefore, when you get immunity at birth, you are able to carry that immunity for lifelong.
Okay.
So in terms of the science of the vaccine, you don't get boosters.
So are we saying those who are getting TB today are those who have not been vaccinated at birth?
No, I think I told you, and I said when you get, I said all of us are exposed to TB.
Yes.
But the immunity is able to take care of it. So those who are getting TB may have the vaccine, but have an issue with immunity
because of other issues.
That's where that's where now the disease breaks the barrier of vaccination. So it is and one vaccination is enough from the science of vaccines.
Okay.
So it's now the body immunity, and every time someone gets a TB, there is a compromise if they are vaccinated.
And you treat it.
There's something I'd like you to help me understand. There are many people who've gotten these booster shots, and what they complain about is the after effects.
Booster shot of what?
Booster for COVID.
I've gone to COVID now.
Oh.
I've left TB.
Okay.
I'm on COVID.
Okay.
They've gotten the first 2, then they've gotten the booster. After the booster,
they have.
You actually feel unwell.
Do you know why?
That's what I'd like you to explain.
It's simple. It means your body is already primed. Your body recognizes COVID-19. So it has immunity against COVID-19. That's actually what it means. So when you get this booster, the body reacts because it already knows that once this enemy comes, I have to fight. The body, while that helps it develop immunity, when you get that jab, the body is saying, oh, you have come. I have always been ready for you. I am going to fight you.
My mother had warned me about you. Yes. You're the one that my mother had warned me about.
So that's the mechanism of vaccines.
And so when you're feeling unwell, it's now your body dealing with it.
And it actually says that the first vaccination has had an impact on
the body.
Yeah.
Daktari, thank you very much for joining us today. And as we commemorate World TB Day, we'll be remembering all this information.
Thank you, and welcome to Machakos on Thursday. We'll have the national celebrations in Machakos on Thursday at Machakos town, Machakos Stadium, from 10 to 1. Welcome the public to celebrate with us. We'll also have county and sub-county celebrations across the country.
Okay, I'm not sounding political. It's not a political statement, but Masako tunakuja, Masako mbe. Good morning, 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Muga Dennis Aseto. National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani is set to read the 2022-2023 budget statement on April 7th, 2 months earlier than usual. In a public notice, Yatani stated that he will read out the budget on that date at the National Assembly at 3 p.m. The presentation of the budget statement is expected to be the last for Yatani under the current administration. The notice comes a day before the March 22nd deadline for public contributions and ideas on policy and tax measures for the upcoming 2022-2023 fiscal plan. Net spending for the financial year that commences in July is estimated at 3.3 trillion shillings. Now, as the bicameral houses resume sitting today, priority bill in the two houses of Parliament will be the Elections Amendment Bill 2022, which was introduced in the National Assembly. The bill, generated by Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, seeks to have alternative methods to be deployed to relay results where technology completely fails during the August 9 polls. The bill was already attracted opposition from both sides of political divide, saying it will create room for irregularities. However, IEBC says the content of the bill had been distorted for unknown reasons. Now, Kenya's economy is expected to stabilize at 6% in 2022, boosted by a strong performance at 11.9%, 9.9% in the second and third quarters of the 2021 financial year, and remittances from the diaspora. This emerged from a consultative forum between National Development Implementation Coordination and Communication Committee and development partners on the government's priority programs. According to NDICC, key macroeconomics indicators point to a quick rebound of the Kenyan economy from the COVID-19 impact, with remarkable improvements witnessed in the services and industrial sector. Now, Amref Health Africa in Kenya has signed an MOU with the Council of County Governors aimed at strengthening health systems for primary healthcare towards attaining universal health coverage. COG Chair Martin Wambora, Country Director Amref Health Africa Dr. Ndirangu Wanjuki, and Chief of Party at Amref Health Africa in Kenya Gilbert Wangalwa said the partnership will include implementation of activities worth over $2.2 million over the period of 4 years. The MOU will further support the coordination of functions, including policy and legislative analysis, proposals and strategies aimed at improving health systems and service delivery at the county level. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta held talks with Chinese Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Ambassador Su Bing, who paid him a courtesy call at State House, Nairobi. Ambassador Su said China looked forward to working closely with Kenya towards stability in the region, adding that his country has come up with the proposal to hold a conference that will bring together all countries in the region to discuss peace and development. President Kenyatta assured the Chinese Special Envoy, who was accompanied by the Chinese Ambassador to Kenya, Zhu Pinjiang, that Kenya is ready to work with China and other stakeholders in support of regional peace and prosperity. Now, Ijara Member of Parliament Sophia Abdi-Noor has called for an expedited probe to uncover armed individuals who killed a resident in Garissa town and set his house ablaze as his family watched helplessly. Tawane Ado was killed and his property reduced to ashes, while his family helplessly watched in disbelief at Garissa Kunaso area. The MP noted that the attacks have become rampant and coordinated despite the outcry from the communities. Last week, the MP had a DAB counterpart, Dr. Mohamed Dahine, and Garissa Senator Abdul Haji called on the security machinery to be alert on rising incidents of insecurity in Garissa County. Now, Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky now says its country would be destroyed before it surrenders its cities to invading Russian forces, as he doubled down on a call for direct talks with President Vladimir Putin as the key to ending the war, as Russia defended overnight strikes that reduced a Kyiv shopping mall to rubble, killing 8. U.S. President Joe Biden held a call with European leaders to address the increasingly brutal tactics employed by Moscow, undeterred by unprecedented Western sanctions. But despite a soaring civilian toll, the Ukrainian president made clear his countrymen will not hand over the capital, the eastern city of Kharkiv, or the heavily bombarded and besieged Mariupol. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Sato. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
A few minutes after 8 o'clock and it's building up into the city. We're looking at Uhuru Highway from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout out towards the city and then into Westlands. Very, very heavy today, well, at least at this time. And we're also looking back at Raila Odinga Way going towards Ngong Road. That has built up considerably from Langata Road this morning. So it's really heavy coming off Langata Road. And then as we look at Ngong Road, that has also built up quite some. Westlands is what we're watching today because very heavy. James Gishuru coming out towards Wayaki Way. And then we're looking at Ring Road Westlands taking off some traffic as well. Chiromo really heavy. It's been that way for a few days, but now it's connecting all the way through to Wangari Maathai and then leaking onto the Thika Superhighway. Today it's really, really hot. Coming out of Westlands as well, Limu Road in and outbound. And then as we look at Kiambu Road in and outbound traffic, it's going all the way well past Coffee Gardens today. And the Thika Superhighway past Survey is what we see at the junction coming off of Outer Ring, some traffic as well. Outer Ring on its own is going to get off some Jogo Road, Juja Road, Kangunda Road. That is what we're looking at right now. In traffic hour, started really early today. Let's keep an eye on things, shall we? Let's talk. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way
7
to
minutes
start
after
your
8.
day.
Good morning, and thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room on SpiceFM, online, YouTube and Facebook. And we're also live on KTN Home for the next 1 hour. We have a guest in the studio who's the MP for Makueni constituency, Dan Manzo. Pole mheshimiwa, ni hali ya homa. But before we introduce Mheshimiwa, let's hear the day's proverb.
A hyena chasing 2 antelopes in the morning will go hungry.
A hyena chasing 2 antelopes in the morning will go hungry.
So I like this proverb.
This proverb is from Mali.
Mali.
I mean, so there must be something that we're saying. This Wahenga of Mali. First of all, hyena chasing antelope, and then chasing 2 of them, and then chasing them in the morning.
I agree completely.
Significance of each of these.
Yes. Simply put, chase 1 antelope, not 2, for heaven's sake. The likelihood of catching 1 is easier than trying to chase 2 because you're not going to get both at the same time. Yeah, simply put.
Right.
So when you look at it again, bright early in the morning when the antelope can see you, and it's clearly faster than you, and you think you're going to get it. This one is what is followed by the statement, even you, the hyena, if you wake up even early in the morning, you're still not going to, you will not get the antelope. But then, of course, you come to the conclusion that the hyena must have written this proverb.
And then it's a hyena, not a pack.
No. And hyenas travel in packs. And customarily, hyenas are not known to chase after prey. They're scavengers. And when they do, it's in a pack, and it's an animal that is definitely slower than them.
A hyena chasing 2 antelopes in the morning will go hungry. Daniel Manzo is a member of parliament for Makueni constituency. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Good to have you on the hot seat. We've been waiting to have you here for a while.
Hot seat?
Yes.
Am I likely to be fried?
No. More like boiled.
Well.
That would be better.
So you're giving Mheshimiwa no option.
Mafuta imepanda bei.
Okay.
Hatuna mafuta ya kufry.
Lakini boil.
Lakini boil. Maji tu. Hiyo iko. Asante sana for joining us, Mheshimiwa.
Yes.
So Parliament resumes, and in fact it's just what we've had in the news. Both houses of Parliament are resuming today with some heavy stuff on the agenda. Because, number one, this is an election year. So Parliament will obviously have to break early so that it can allow you to go and campaign. What does the calendar indicate?
Well, we'll be breaking early June, adjourning early June to await the new House, the 13th Parliament in August after elections. And therefore, this means by that time, the budget of the country has to be ready. You know, the budget is usually read around the middle of the year. And it's so one of the things we must do now is to make sure the budget is ready. It's been prepared. The supplementary budgets have been passed. And then that will make it very easy for the government to move on. Even when Parliament's life will have come to an end, then government activities will carry on up to the next time budget will be made. So the budget of the new year, which will be now 2022-2023, has to be completed by May.
And so that's a lot of work that has to be done. In fact, we even saw Okoh, the Cabinet Secretary, announcing the date that he will be reading the budget. That's sometime next month in April. So the budget policy statement was presented before Parliament. The relevant committee on budget and appropriations looked through it. Have they presented the report, and has the BPS already been adopted by the House?
Not yet. This is what we'll be doing immediately. They first did a division of revenue bill. That's what we first did, which deals with the counties, so that we make sure that the monies for the counties is secure, because devolution is very important now in the country. And you know what is mandated to the counties as to carry on. Unfortunately, very little has been going on there by the claim that monies are not leaving national governments for the counties. So that's, we've already done that bit, and I'm sure to be proceeding to Senate so that they can also do their bit. And then now the main budgetary activity commences immediately. It's the main thing we are doing between now and when Parliament closes. So it's got to go through all the debates. Yes.
And then there's also the Elections Amendment Bill.
Yes.
That is also coming up for debate again before the same house. It has several proposals that have been put forth by the IEBC. That is also something that you're going to discuss. Do you have enough time to do all these things before June?
There are very many bills which are not completed. Some coming from Senate, and others have originated from the National Assembly. I think what is priority now is budget, and we'll see what else the House Business Committee will prioritize, or will make look at what is most urgent. For example, the election thing is important, but the question is, will it get the necessary numbers to be able to go through? There's a likelihood that it will be again also, to show who has the power, who has the might.
It will be like the political parties.
It will be like the political parties' bill, and that you saw how much time we wasted on that. So the more consensus is built, the better. If you build consensus, you reduce the debate. If it's something good for the country, I believe the two sides of the house should be able to agree, and then that election law is passed. If it is contentious, then most probably we're going to waste a week or two in it. And again, it must go to Senate, because it is a law which is affecting the election of county assembly members, the governor, and the senator. So it must again also go to Senate, and that takes quite a little bit of time.
Well, sure, it's interesting that you say that. You say that if it's looked at as something that is important for the country, then both sides of the House then would probably take it into consideration. Does that happen often? That it is what is for the benefit of the country that is taken into consideration when these debates are raging in Parliament?
There are times bills come to the House and they are not contentious. Bills are originated by the leader of majority. So if the opposition is already satisfied with that particular law, the debate is shorter. And even the people interested to contribute are even fewer, because the matter is straightforward and the country needs it urgently. For example, now we have something to do. I had presented a bill on, the compensation of people who get snake bites in Kenya, because that had been removed, and for the last 4 or 5 years, anybody killed by a snake in Kenya has not been compensated, but one killed by an elephant or a buffalo can be compensated. So when I presented that, it didn't have a lot of contentions. Everybody agreed with me, from Busia to Rift Valley to northern Kenya to coast. In the lower eastern, 250 people die of snake bites. But we're also challenging the Maasai community to show us the first aid thing, to show other Kenyans, because I don't think any Maasai person is ever killed by a snake. They're able to give themselves first aid very fast.
They have snakes.
Yeah, they have a lot of snakes. They encounter them more than any other person. And there's a way they do first aid with the traditional medicine. Unfortunately, most hospitals have no proper medication, and when they no longer compensate, KWS and the county governments have a very big role to play. So that did not fight a lot of resistance, and I believe it's going to go through before the end of the House, because any law which is not passed now will die automatically. It's dead. You have to begin it afresh. In the new Parliament. So there are matters like that, something to do with the fertilizer, something to do with agriculture. You will not find it contentious, but something to do with election. It's likely to be very, very contentious. Because you will find that the amendment, in a way, is going to disadvantage.
Why is it so cantankerous? Why?
You saw the You saw the political parties bill. What was contentious and what was sometimes it's politics being played, because you want to show how many numbers do I have, who is strong, who is powerful, and then you waste a lot of time on that. Finally, when the political parties bill passed, the first person to embrace it was the person who opposed it. It was very easy now for them to form coalitions. It was very easy for Honorable Musalia to find it easy to now go and link up with UDA. UDA had already taken a position. If you want to join us, kill your party, dissolve your party, come as an individual. And then now, again, you see, the future of this country is coalitions. There's no single political party which can win elections without a coalition. But you can imagine we wasted 2 weeks of legislative time arguing.
Is it really a waste of time, or what we are calling this contentious issue is the political language of negotiation?
Well, whatever has politics in it will become contentious. You know, we used to
Again, I'm asking the question.
Yes.
Is it really contentious, or is it the political language of negotiation?
It should be political language of negotiation.
Yes.
It's a way of weighing each other's strength, politicizing. We were leaving the house at 2 a.m. in the morning. I mean, have you been voting for something you would have done in half a minute?
Are you saying that this negotiation should have happened elsewhere, or there should have been a better way of negotiating, rather than using this platform, public time, to negotiate?
Well, sometimes political parties agree on certain things, and not only the practice here. Even in the U.S., where you have two major parties, there are matters on the floor of the House. They form a coalition. The leaders of majority of each side, or leader of majority and leader of minority, have a certain committee, and they are able to agree on a certain issue, and they are able to move without wasting a lot of time. Like when it came to issue of sending financial help to Ukraine with the bombings and all that, they took very little time. But there are matters also, even them, they will behave like us. They will not agree at all, and they will fight it over again and vote, and it goes to Senate, and it's the same thing. So I think it's just political interest.
It's the nature of the game.
It's the nature of the game.
Mheshimiwa, you have been in the 11th and now the 12th Parliament.
Yes.
And before that, you still had played some role in politics. You were the first registered chairman of Wiper when it was ODMK.
Yes.
You are a politician. You have some political blood in you. If you look at the 11th and the 12th Parliament, people have really talked about the 12th Parliament and saying, come on. Or high expectations of this Parliament, high expectations of the quality of debate, high expectations of the efficiency of work that has come out of this Parliament. But then we don't see that. People are actually saying, we rate this Parliament very poorly. We're comparing to other parliaments and also comparing to the expectations that those had on this Parliament. Do you think this is a justified sentiment?
Yes, it is, and that's why I don't want to be a member of Parliament anymore.
You're done?
Yes. I'm not going to be in the National Assembly anymore. I'm now vying for the seat of Senate in Makueni, actually competing with my professor, Kivuza Kibwana, who's been the governor. And the reason is there's nothing more value I will be able to add in the 13th Parliament. Business in the National Assembly is very difficult, bearing the number of members available and the time available. You know, you sit for 2.5 hours in the afternoon. You are, let's say, averagely 300 people come to the House. So for you to be able to talk or even to contribute and make a difference, you may take months before you get to the mic. So it, you end up not being very useful other than during the committee presentations. On the floor of the House, it becomes like a talk show of the House leadership. Before you are through with the House leadership, it's already 6 o'clock. You have 1 hour to go. and the matter is put off to another day. So, we are too many in the House.
Why did you go into politics in the first place?
It was by accident.
Please, our accommodators explain to
us.
Yes.
First of all, I come from a rural village, and my father was a pastor. So most probably I would have become a clergyman like him. Then I went to Starehe Boys Center, where Dr. Griffin didn't like two people. He didn't like politicians, and he didn't like lawyers. So when I told him, most people trained by Dr. Griffin became pilots, surgeons, doctors,
and finance people.
And that's what he wanted me to do. And I went to see him. He used to do career talks. And when I went to ask him whether I could go to read law in the university, he was very disappointed. He thought I should become a doctor and contribute into helping humanity. And then finally he told me, when you go to law school, then I want you to become a judge. and the last, I'm very restless. I can't sit in one place for 4 hours. So becoming a judge will really be a challenge. So when I went for my pupillage, I was very lucky to be attached to Feroz Noroji advocate. And he happened to be working with Orengo, Honorable Orengo, and Governor Kiraitu Murungi on the petition of Mwai Kibaki against Moi. So that was my first taste of politics. And what Orengo will do after we leave court, we will do a little bit of politics. So I picked it from Honorable James Orengo, GAB. He has another name there called Angry. So I began picking it, and I began, soon I was facing tear gas, and we would run away from Uhuru Park after court sessions. And then I also learned from Orengo, when he's in the courtroom, he's fully a lawyer, and you will never know any politics of him in the courts. And when he gets out there, he's a totally different human being. And out of this admiration of James Orengo, I ended up being part of that system. And when we were registering, when we went orange and banana, the Mutula Kilonzo Senior, who had really beaten us up in court on that Moi petition, and went to celebrate with Moi in State House when we had no cup of tea to take. And that was my first humiliation in court, as a pupil and as a new lawyer, because the matter dragged on for many years. And I now gotten to know Mutula Kilonzo out of being the opposites. I used to try to be in his chamber, but it was very difficult to reach him. I would be told to call him over lunch hour. And then I go to the booth at, down there in near his office in Finance House. And there's a long queue and I have many coins. And therefore, when I ring over lunch hour and he's just getting to talk to me, the coins are over and there's a long queue. And then the other people want to call to Western Kenya coast. People are waiting in different booths in Kenya. So I'll be chased away and never met Mutula till Orengo assisted me and Feroz Noroji, and I'm forever grateful to them. So when we were now registering the orange, Mutula Kilonzo Senior was unable to. So they sent somebody inconspicuous, who was me. And when I went to the AG's chambers, I went there inconspicuously. Because if Orengo had come there, his purpose would be known. If Mutula Kilonzo Senior had come there, they would know why he's there. So I went and worked with the small people, the small clerks, managed to pay for the party, and it went all the way to Amos Wako. So when it came to time for the Honorable Amos Wako to make a decision, he became very smart. He told Orengo and Mutula, sorry, I have a boss called Mother Karua. So I can't make a decision on this matter. You've got to go and look for my minister. So when I went to Mother Karua, Mata got to Mother Karua, she made some consultations, and things were very hot in the country. And they actually allowed me to be the chairman of the Orange, and got us the certificate. But somebody told me to photocopy it at the Attorney General's office, and I was lucky to get a colored photocopy. So the photocopy I made looked very much like the original, and that's why I presented to Raila Odinga and remained with the original. But remember then, at that particular time, the person showy was Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. he was higher even than Mwai Kibaki, President Mwai Kibaki in the ratings. And
he was the highest in the country.
He was the highest in the country. But all of a sudden, the Honorable Raila Odinga, through Medivo, actually it's Medivo who forced it, and the Honorable Raila Odinga announced his candidature. But both of them were in the orange. Obviously, nature will dictate that I will favor the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. Naturally. And even if I was Luo, for example, because Kenya is
Kenya is what it is.
Kenya is a natural country. And our divergence is our strength. If I was Kikuyu, I would have done the same. If I was Luo, I would have done the same. So I was taken to court by TJ Kajwang and Atiende Omolo. And we went before Justice Aluoch. You can see how Kenyan justice system works. The file appears to the right place. Yes. And that particular day, the idea was, first of all, to declare who is the chairman, and secondly, to stop possible nomination of Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, which was going on in Kasarani. And, we had a very tough argument in court that morning. My lawyer was Mutula Kilonzo Jr. And Justice Aluoch was very smart. She just took the Honorable Atiende Omolo through his own papers. And the search from the AG's office showed I was a chairman. So she ended the case quickly. Say, don't bring politics in my chamber. Go sort it out there. You know the answer. How do you want me to make a political decision? You know, those days were very sensitive in that we did not have the constitution we have today. A president or a vice president or that order was a serious matter. So very soon, we were out of the chamber. And that afternoon, we nominated Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka to run with ODM Kenya. So Raila Odinga was left looking for a party. But he was very lucky because there was another hidden orange by the party in power, then PNU, with Imanyara, and he got the other share of orange. It had actually been stolen before, and I was trying to recover it. And Imanyara now gave it to the Honorable Raila Odinga. And that's how our relationship started. We have come a long way with the Honorable Raila Odinga. Later on, Kalonzo Musyoka 2012 supported him. And 2017 he supported him. So we have had a long, long relationship.
And 2022.
And now 2022.
He has said
Rosafi. And we have all agreed we give a chance to the Honorable Raila Odinga for a fifth attempt. I think going by the example in Congo, the president of Congo assisted the opposition leader to become the next president. And I think that's what we are trying to do in Kenya. We have a president and a template. And again also, there's no vice president in this country who has ever ascended to power directly. Mwai Kibaki took many years there in the wilderness.
And Moi Kenyatta died.
Moi and Kenyatta, Moi was lucky. And then President Moi was lucky. And you can see Honorable Kalonzo never made it directly. Raila Odinga has been trying for many years. So I believe even DP Ruto will have to do his turn in the wilderness for another 10 years.
So that's where you are going. Dan Manzo is the MP for Makueni constituency. He says he has served 2 terms in Parliament and then in the National Assembly. He does not want to go back to the National Assembly. We want to look at those 2 terms of your experience in those 2 terms in the National Assembly. The work done in the National Assembly, the work done by the National Assembly, efficiency of the National Assembly as we've seen it, the 11th and the 12th National Assembly, the politics that have either moved the country forward or delayed the progress of the country. This is what we're discussing today, the business of the 12th Parliament. 8:30, we're live on KTN Home, on SpiceFM, and on YouTube and Facebook. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person. Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
The group of leaders we are having now, Kenyans, listen, the chemical composition is the same. You will mold them to ODM, then NASA, you mold them to Kano, mold them to Jubilee, mold them to any other different color sometimes, but the chemical composition is the same.
It's not about me as Nurdin Haji, but it's about the constitution that I swore to protect. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position because that position is in the Constitution and that's what Kenyans wanted.
I'll tell you what happens is that when you ignore court orders, you're creating and quoting anarchy. Then you create a very dangerous precedent.
A story is told of the first president of the country who also went to visit Madare, presidential tour. Yeah? And of course, he went to this place and he introduced himself. So one of the enemies says, kuna jina kama yangu.
The situation.
The sun is out in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 27 and lows of 15 today. Cloudy conditions coming later. Sunny at 18 in Nakuru, highs of 30 and lows of 15. Nyeri, sunny at 17, highs of 27 and lows of 13. It's sunny at 18 in Eldoret, 27 will be the high and lows of 13. The sun is up in Mombasa as well at 29, highs of 33 and lows of 26. There's a bit of a shower in parts of Malindi, 29, highs of 32 and lows of 27. At 22, Kisumu is sunny, 28 will be the high and lows of 19, while Kakamega is sunny as well at 23, 29 will be the high with lows of 16. Light rain in Kampala now at 21, 26 will be the high and lows of 18, while it's mostly sunny in Dar es Salaam at 27, we'll see highs of 32 and lows of 25. 13 degrees warming up ever so slightly in Johannesburg, going to highs of 22 and lows of 10, while it's mostly cloudy at 28 in Lagos, 33 will be the high, and lows of 27. It's sunny in Kinshasa at 24, highs of 32 and lows of 23.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, everything nice.
Spice up your life.
It continues, and we're well into traffic hour this Tuesday morning, and we're seeing what? We're seeing still some traffic on the Thika Superhighway. That continues coming and going, but I think we're going towards reducing stage now. Kiambu Road still continues looking quite heavy there. Where the drama is this morning is in Westlands, all parts of it coming off of Wayaki Way from James Gishuru, down then through to Ring Road Westlands, connecting with Chiromo. Where you can, and then we're seeing that also connecting through to Wangari Maathai and a little bit of the Thika Superhighway. So that's an absolute mess. Just in case you're thinking of going in that direction, you might want to think about going the long route because you will obviously get stuck in what's going on here. And also Huru Highway is contributing to that as well. Coming off Gong Road, that looks pretty heavy going towards the City Mortuary roundabout, and then out towards Community. We're looking in the other direction of town, and Jogo Road is also heavy coming off towards Landis and the Kamkunji roundabout. It still continues on Langata Road, but not too terrible now. We're looking at the Southern Bypass, and that's free and clear. Use that as an option to get into the city. Outer Ring also looks really busy. North Airport Road here and there, but not too bad. Traffic hour still continues. Let's take a look in half an hour and see how it looks. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Mornings done right.
24 minutes to 9. It continues right here on Spice FM, KTN Home and online with Daniel Manzo, the MP for Makueni constituency, serving his second term in Parliament. He says you don't want to go back to the National Assembly. You'd rather go back to going to the Senate, where you stand a chance of contributing something. You feel that in this last two terms in the National Assembly, your contribution has not been as much as you'd have wanted. One, because you've said too many members. 347 members of the National Assembly and limited time that you sit and you contribute in open chamber and open debate. But then there are those who have said that this parliament, the way it's been designed, is that a lot of the work is done in the committees. Is that not so?
That's why a lot of members do a lot of work in the committees. The country may never see that contribution, or that contribution may not be felt. I was one of the lucky ones. I'll be the first one to key at 2:30. Always I go to Parliament very early, because if you don't make it by 2:35, or when the House is starting. If you are not there much earlier, you have no chance of contributing. You just sit and listen the whole afternoon. And I've been very lucky all the time. I'm able to contribute almost every day, but I'm not able to go to do it the way you feel satisfied, like the way it used to be in the house when it was smaller. And again, the way we have structured our house under the new constitution. A lot of the work, once it's done in the committees, you'll find it is the house leadership, either leader of a committee or leader of majority or leader of minority who have priorities in contribution. And by the time they are through, the day is over. So a lot of members, their effect has not been felt by their supporters back at home. Some people also sit there and never get the chance. You hear a complaint, Mr. Speaker, I've been sitting here and I've not managed to contribute, and it is now going to 7 p.m. in the evening. And you find that case is genuine, and even the Speaker is sympathetic. I must say also the Speaker has worked very hard. And Honorable Justin Muturi, first is a lawyer. Secondly, he was in the judiciary. So he's very good at balancing in his decisions. You know, a lot of times motions are brought and the Speaker has to retreat, to rule whether this particular law is properly before the House, whether it is constitutional or unconstitutional, or issues. And he quickly, you know, that presentation may take an hour and take a lot of time. It was unexpected, and a sharp member notices something is not right with something which we've already started doing, raises issues, people contribute on it, and the Speaker has to go and rule like a judge and come back with an answer so that we may proceed on the matter. And he has been very effective. He has done very well. If you see his communications, all that has been done very well. And things which take a lot of time and priority, like the budget, they have been contributed for very well. You know, the contribution for the budget policy, you know, helps members bring in the issues Kenyans are talking about. Of course, there are petitions which are taken to the committees. They are supposed to be completed within a certain period of time. There are questions. At least there was an improvement on questions, and it's not as good as those days when a minister used to be in the House. And hence, the proposal of half cabinet in the House, half cabinet away from the House. We had a cabinet which is scared of Parliament. So if they don't want to face Parliament, they are not. The ones who have done well, the cabinet secretaries who have done well, are the ones who've been in Parliament before, like Honorable Wamalwa. Those ones who've been in Parliament before and are cabinet secretaries.
They know how to maneuver the politics.
They have a very easy time. They know how politics work. They know how to answer things quickly. They know how to satisfy members of Parliament. They even come themselves personally. But the technocrats will prefer to send a permanent secretary or send a CAS, of which most of the CAS were politicians. And that has really helped.
Why would they be afraid to present themselves before Parliament?
You know, Parliament, if you fight with Parliament, they can easily agree to impeach you. And somebody may just rough you off badly just from the beginning. And by the end of that session, you have a petition against you.
I see. So it is clear then that politics then are played on the floor of the House more often than not. So does it then usurp the legislative role of Parliament, this political play? Legislative. You see, legislation is made by politicians, and the Parliament is run by politicians. So you expect politics to play throughout. But does it override the role of which Parliament is supposed to be playing?
The role of Parliament
representation, oversight,
legislation. Oversight, legislation. At times, not all the times, but at times, we overdo it, or the politics take the center stage. Remember, Parliament, members of Parliament are whipped by the interests of their political parties and the coalitions. Like, for example, the BBI. There were quite a number of things which are not right with the BBI. And the lawyers in the House including myself, Amolo Otiende in Senate, James Orengo, and Mutula Kilonzo Junior, were able to point out certain things. And even that went into the committee. And the committee at some point were told, this is the political party position. And again, it's a game of numbers. You vote. So if you lose in the voting, if I'm unable to raise enough people to support my idea, we lose. And the majority takes the day, even if it's a wrong thing, or even if it's something which the courts will not agree with. And that's why you saw what the Honorable Amolo Otiende was trying to tell the House is what ended up coming from court. And he was now the one to go and defend, yet he never believed in it in the first place, or had given his advice, and that caused him a lot of wrath from ODM. He was removed as the vice chair of the committee and was left in the court and given threats by the likes of Junet that he will never see the door of the House again, and he's happy to be a professor and to be a practicing lawyer.
So what I'm hearing from you then is there's a lot of frustration from various, and so the political party and the political leadership, the big boys of the country, hold sway over Parliament. We can call it independent. We can call it, an independent arm of government. All those things are stories. The reality is that there is control, levels of control being pulled from elsewhere.
No. All political parties on earth whip their members in a certain direction for a certain purpose. So what the big boys, as you call them, do is to whip through the political parties. And unfortunately, political parties in Kenya are still largely individually owned. So it's like a personal proprietorship. That's why we've really, the oldest party is KANU, and followed by Ford Kenya. And then now ODM and the Wiper, they were born at the same time. ODM Kenya just
NARC
split.
before them.
Then there's NARC, and NARC has members in the... So you remember NARC formed government.
Yes.
It has no member in the House. PNU formed government. It has no member in the House. At least KANU has some members, Ford Kenya, ODM and the like. So we don't have the history of all strong parties, which are run independently of the proprietors. You see, that's why we were looking for political parties funding, so that you build political parties as institutions. But now a political party is whipped, and once it is whipped, you have to vote in that direction. If you don't vote in that direction, you are de-whipped. Like Amolo Otiende. If you differ, you are kicked out of the committee, and thus the work of the House takes place. Or at times, if you disagree on the floor of the House and you're out of order, you are chased away. Like sometimes there is fighting. You saw the Honorable Mbandi be chased away after a few punches here and there, and he was not apologizing, and it was becoming, after that, we were taken to some disciplinary committee for a hearing to take place there. So I want to say the Parliament is independent by law. There's an element of capture by the bigger parties or the way the parties are moved. But finally, you vote. You vote with your conscience.
Nothing.
Do you
like
really
that.
vote? I'm sorry, Mweshimiwa.
Or
you vote. In theory, you vote with your conscience, but I think that we are replete with examples of people who even sat in this very chair who have said that Parliament has been captured. That even when you vote, it is as a result of influence coming from the powers that be. Is that an imaginary thought, an imaginary belief, or is it actually something that is going on?
What happens? Some people have been very independent on what they believe in. And that's why you've seen, despite the whipping, somebody votes in the opposite or abstains from voting. But it is always good to make decision in one way or another, whether right or wrong. Of course, I have indicated what forces a certain way of doing it is a political party whipping. And I'll give you a good example. The first time in the BBI, we lost to UDA. The first vote was lost. So what happened is members were looked for from wherever they were. And later on, that matter was recommitted and voted for again. So the original position was changed. So the element of freedom I get in it is that you are able to rally your numbers, to whip your numbers, to win or in a certain position. Now, when you are able to, when you are unable to win a first round, you find people from the other side changing their mind and joining this other side, especially the independents and the people from smaller parties. They are now looked for. And you find an independent person who was voting with UDA has now moved.
What does whipping actually involve?
It's a party whip.
I just want to understand the details. It's a word. No. The reason why I'm asking the reason why I'm I get that, but the reason why I'm asking is because of the numerous nefarious rumors that I've heard emanating that this decision making and the changing of minds has very little to do with whipping and more to do with persuasion.
Sometimes of the monetary nature.
That variety is the one I had in mind when I was speaking. Yes. So it is a rumor that one hears of. I'm not asking you to confirm or to confound it. I'm simply saying that when there's a constant talk about a parliament that is captive to the executive, and yet, arguably, it is perhaps the most educated, most well-informed parliament this country has ever had, if you just look at the individuals, and then you speak of the independence, then I'm a bit confused. Because independence means I would see a large number of people coming out and voicing, meaning there'd be evidence that they don't agree with certain things. One doesn't see that.
And even swaying the position of the party,
Yes,
of their party.
One doesn't see that. And when it comes to budgeting, and we say, but folks, this budget that you guys have passed, you're a budget-making parliament. Surely, what is it that you've considered for the people in this country who fall below what you may call even the minimum wage bracket? And we're told, we reduce the price of bread. Now, you see, at that point, as a simple Mwananchi, I realize they've missed the point here. Bread isn't a staple food in this country. Ugali is. So what do you do to reduce the price of maize meal? I'm giving that as an example. Now, there are those who will again argue that that is battering the members of parliament. Actually, no. It's just presenting issues that we see and asking for a rational understanding of it.
Let me take you back. It's a challenge I've given a lot of people. Once in a while, like the time there was the sugar issue, I heard that money exchanged hands and some people were actually taken to the disciplinary committee to explain where the money came from. And I would imagine that it was money from outside the house, maybe from businessmen. And that investigation went on and I never really got. And I'm sure a lot of members can confirm to you. President Uhuru Kenyatta is not the sort of person to buy the house. If you expect him to buy you may get into a rude shock. What I've seen happening currently is people be removed. If you disagree with the position of the party, you know how many have gone home. You know how many used to chair. And you know those chairs have a lot of privileges and there is a small, slightly higher salary, being house leadership, being in a panel or speaker, which you are put there by your political party. So the day you don't vote with your political party or you disagree,
all that goes.
And you are the chairman or the vice chairman, like now, Omolo Otiende, was never taken back even after he has made peace. And for the reason he was removed, he wasn't given any money by Raila Odinga, his party leader, he was not given money to change his position and support BBI. Even he was whipped out and told, now you are no longer the vice chair of the Committee of Justice.
What are you saying? Are you saying that there is no money that changes hands in Parliament?
Even if it happens, it must be done very secretly. And some characters like us may never get to see it.
Before you joined Parliament, you had heard these rumors.
Yes.
You know that there is money that changes hands in Parliament to sway parliamentarians a certain way. You've been an MP for 2 terms now.
Yes.
In the pot, Are you saying you've never had it next to you?
I have seen something on the floor of the house one time. Moses Kuria came in with 100,000 and an envelope, and he removed it and showed there and said, this is the money which was being paid the other side. So the question was, of course, he was told to substantiate he was unable and he was chased out of the house. It became a disciplinary issue. But really, if it was being given on the other side,
you're lawyering.
Why did he come with it? He wasn't on that side.
You are lawyering.
And he crossed
here,
and
Dan.
received.
I think he's already answered our question. We understand.
No, I don't.
I actually do.
I don't. I want an answer because are you saying that to the best of your knowledge, with utmost honesty,
Yes.
you have not come across any information that there is any bribery that goes on in Parliament?
I haven't seen a bribery, but I've heard of it. You remember there was a lady in a lot of trouble, told to be giving money
In the restroom?
ladies in the restroom.
Yes.
And some people came and said, I've received 10,000 from the restroom. You see that person was, and it was a sugar issue. Again, which was touching people outside the house, businessmen who work with some people in government. Because the sugar business, trust me, does not belong purely to Waindi. I have never seen those Waindis myself. I fought that matter throughout. I fought Kanini Keka throughout, who was chairing that sugar thing. And I'll hear there is money and I would chase to see it.
It's businessmen.
Yes, businessmen.
And there were Indians, just a factor. There are many players. But let me ask you this question.
So I really followed myself that time. And Kanini Keka, I bothered him so much. I told him, you have been given money, and I never saw any money in that
But
sugar.
Mheshimiwa,
But I'm told a lot of money in millions
Mheshimiwa,
came to the house.
what I find interesting, you make laws.
Yes.
The US that we keep referring to
Yes.
has something they refer to as lobbying.
Yes, sir.
So essentially, you legitimize this process that we're arguing about.
I was there recently, actually, 2 weeks ago. I was in Washington, D.C., and we met, that issue came up
at
the International Law Institute, where we were comparing notes on the systems. And this answer you were given by members who sit there. There is always a campaign team for every member.
Yes.
And that campaign team is monitored, and that account is opened and closed, and they really monitor it. So what they do is they are lobby with a member in the house. The money is paid by those businessmen to his campaign team.
Yes.
For his re-election.
Yes.
And then when it is paid there, it is managed professionally.
Yes.
They open that account and close it. They buy campaign materials. They pay for advertisements and bring you back. The corporations which had a problem in the house, bring you back to the house.
Yes.
This is what they told us when we met them in Washington last week.
How is it any different from situation we've had in this country where you are told there was money intended for a huge project, and yet you are told, when you look at the procurement process, towels, tiles, and you realize, but these materials are not very useful in the building of something like a dam. So how do you connect the two? So all I'm saying is, if we know that this is the way that things work, why not give it a legal framework within which to make it, to operationalize it? Or is it because we think we can get away with the things?
The truth of the matter is, a thing of that nature will be corruption. And in some countries, actually, there is an allowed level of corruption that you can pay more.
In some countries, sir,
allowed.
You speak of other countries.
Legally recognized.
You know, in Kenya, you call it illegal, but it is being practiced without the law catching up with it. I don't think you will legitimize buying of members of parliament. What I've seen more in Kenya is, at least the last 2 times I've been there, I've been in opposition. I haven't really been in government to be lobbied. If there are people who will be bought, if there are any people who will be bought, probably will be people in the smaller parties to shift alliance, and it will be people in the independent. But somebody who is very well known that you are in opposition, like myself or Amolo Otiende, really, will you really buy Amolo Otiende to vote? When he gave his reasons why he was rejected or why he wanted something rectified in BBI at that time, he gave legal position and even wrote a document. But when that document was seen, it was told this is very bad for against us. And it was removed from a committee. Of course, it's painful to be removed from that committee as a vice chair, and then threatened that next time you will not get the political party certificate. I think that's the sort of whipping
that you're talking about.
That we're talking about, because if you come from that region and you don't have the political party ticket, you know where your destiny is. I think that is a sufficient threat. But the good thing with that member and his counterpart James Orengo said, you know what? I've been in this house for many years. Take the house leadership away from me. He said, he told us, take it. Of course, Nombo took it. But for Otiende, because he's younger, he was really laying down.
Daniel Manzo, thank you very much for joining us in Kenya's biggest conversation. Come again soon. Let's keep talking about this as the Parliament gets busy, as politics hots up. We'll be inviting you again. He is the MP for Makueni constituency. We continue the conversation into the next hour, but we want to say goodbye to the audience that's been watching us on TV, on KTN Home. Switch over to SpiceFM or just tune in to the conversation on YouTube and Facebook. SpiceFM KE.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
So, coming to the top of the hour, and let's talk about Cipladon.
Indeed. Headaches and other pains and tensions have their way of creeping in. And one way to get rid of this really quickly, 2 times as fast than your regular paracetamol, is Cipladon, the effervescent paracetamol. What you do, you dunk it in water and you take it, and then your symptoms should be sorted out. You can get Cipladon at your good pharmacies and all Chandarana supermarkets. And if symptoms persist after taking, seek medical advice.
Indeed. In the next hour, let's talk about road accidents in the country. There's a big story in the Standard this morning. There's a story that's been done by the BBC. How graft is driving the high death toll on Kenyan roads. The number of pedestrians killed between the 1st of January and the 20th of March, 359 already. This conversation coming up. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Kenya and Ghana have signed an agreement to deepen tourism ties between the two countries. The agreement will put emphasis on cultural tourism, adventure nature tourism, and sports tourism. Kenya is a leading tourism player on the African continent, and Ghana plans to tap into its expertise, especially in the MICE sector, where Kenya is a leading player behind South Africa and Mauritius. Now, remittance inflows by Kenyans living abroad have recorded a 23.5% year-on-year increase to reach 36.7 billion shillings in February 2022. This compared to 29.7 billion shillings Kenyans overseas sent home during the same month last year, according to the Central Bank of Kenya. Month-on-month inflows, however, fumbled as remittance inflows declined 5.1% when compared to January this year, when Kenyans abroad sent home 38.6 billion shillings in what the CBK attributes to seasonal factors. Now, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Kuritan is set to read the 2022-2023 budget statement on April 7th, 2 months earlier than usual. The presentation of the budget statement is expected to be the last for Yatani under the current administration. The notice comes days for the deadline for public contributions and ideas on policy and tax measures for the upcoming 2022-2023 fiscal plan. Net spending for the financial year that commences in July is estimated at 3.3 trillion shillings. Now, as the bicameral House resumes sittings today, priority bill in the two houses of Parliament will be the Elections Amendment Bill 2022, which was introduced in the National Assembly. The bill, generated by Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, seeks to have alternative methods to be deployed to relay results where technology completely fails during the August 9 polls. The bill has already attracted opposition from both sides of the political divide, saying it will create room for irregularities. However, IEBC says the content of the bill had been distorted for unknown reasons. The Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance urges governments to heighten tree planting and take measures to protect and conserve existing forests to guard against greenhouse gas emissions. Mithika Mwenda, the executive director of the PACJA, said deforestation poses danger to Africa. He added that the most critical phase in which the world is passing through is a complexity in the form of climate change. The International Day of Forest is marked annually on the 21st to let people know about the significance of trees. The theme for the day was forest and sustainable production and consumption. Kenya's economy is expected to stabilize at 6% in 2022, boosted by a strong performance at 11.9% and 9.9% in the second term and third quarters of the 2021 financial year, and remittances from the diaspora. This emerged from a consultative forum between the National Development Implementation Coordination and Communication Committee and development partners on the government's priority programs. According to NDICC, key macroeconomics indicators point to a quick rebound of the Kenyan economy from the COVID-19 impact, with remarkable improvements witnessed in the services and industrial sector. Now, US President Joe Biden now says it is clear Russia is considering to use chemical and biological weapons in Ukraine and warned of a severe Western response if it chose to do so. Biden said Russia has recently accused the United States of holding chemical and biological weapons in Europe. His warning echoed statements made by his administration earlier this month, as well as other Western nations, after Russian officials accused Ukraine of seeking to hide an alleged US-backed chemical weapons program. Biden also retweeted that such action would prompt a severe but so far undefined response from Western allies. Now, 2 women died after being stabbed at a high school in southern Sweden. Police said that an 18-year-old student had been arrested. The 2 women, both in their 50s, were employees of the school. The alleged attacker called the emergency number to say where he was and that he had put down his weapon and admitted to having killed 2 people. He was armed with a knife and an axe. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aceto. Good morning.
Coming off the Thika Superhighway, quite a lot of traffic today, and that's just at the junction. We'll see that into the city. Looking much better on Mombasa Road, except now when you're going towards North Airport Road, coming off Mombasa Road, it slows down just a little bit. All right, what else are we looking at? On Uhuru Highway, Langata Road, that still continues. All roads lead into the CBD today, and that slows down as you get off Uhuru Highway. Okay, much better on the Thika Superhighway, like we said. It's reducing significantly on Kiambu Road. Coming out of Western, still heavy though, and we have to keep an eye on that. All right, coming out of traffic hour in about half an hour, so let's take a look at what it looks like then. Let's speak before that on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start
Indeed
your
it is.
day.
It's 6 minutes coming up to 7 minutes after 9. Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues. We are live every weekday morning, Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Spice FM around the country. I'm going to tell you the frequencies just now. 94.4 when you're in Nairobi. If you go to Mombasa, it's 87.9. 102.5 in Kisumu. Nakuru, 96.0. 96.7 in Eldoret. Nyeri, it's 90.9. And Malindi is 97.7. You can also join the conversations on social media. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, SpiceFM KE on Instagram, SpiceFM on Facebook, and SpiceFM Kenya as well on YouTube, where we live stream the show as well, YouTube and Facebook. So City has gone out to escort the Honorable MP for Makueni, and then he went there and he forgot that he needed to come back and give us the day's proverb. But when City Muga comes, City Muga will give us a proverb. He's here. Kufumba kufumbua.
That is proverb.
Mm-hmm.
A hyena chasing two antelopes in the morning will go hungry.
Hyena chase two antelopes, morning.
Hungry.
Mm-hmm. If it's a mathematical problem, hyena plus chasing two antelopes equals hungry.
Equals hunger.
Mm.
If hyena plus hunger equals morning.
Yes. Then.
If hyena plus two antelopes plus morning is equals hunger.
Yes, then hunger is equal to also the aforementioned.
Hunger minus two antelopes
equals hyena.
Equals hyena plus morning.
Yes.
This algebra gets as it be. Sheesh.
Let's talk about road safety in the country. So there's a story in the Standard this morning, page 4. There's a new feature that's been released by BBC Africa, which is talking about our killer roads. Joining us for this conversation is the chairman of the Kenya Road Safety Association. His name is David Carrier. He's in the studio with us. Shortly, we'll also be joined online via Zoom by Richard Chacha, who is a journalist, who will also be joining this conversation. David, it's good to have you on the show. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much.
This is called the hot seat, where you're seated.
Yeah, sure.
But because you're coming to tell us just about, road accidents in the country, it's not going to be that bad, okay? Because you'll be telling us about your experience, your experience in road safety. First, tell us about the Kenya Road Safety Association.
Yeah.
What is it?
Kenya, that is Road Safety Association of Kenya, was formed in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
This is when we had so many accidents on our roads. In fact, it started in 2002, and but it was as Speed Governor and Road Safety Association, but we split after some time, and then we came up now with the Road Safety Association of Kenya. But I've been chair for about 4 years now. There was another chair, and I was elected. This is corporates coming together, bodybuilders, people who sell vehicles, and even we have some banks as our members. We used to have some media houses, but I think you'll join us.
When you say bodybuilders, you mean motor vehicle bodybuilders?
Motor
not
vehicle.
gym.
Not gym, yeah, sure, not gym. And members in the matatu industry, and also long distance drivers. We try to make sure that we are joined, all of us, because anything to do with road safety is about us, all of us. It involves anybody who uses our roads.
Do you have border borders as your members?
Yeah, we have their leaders, with Boda. They have so many associations, so we have some few are our members.
How about those representing the interests of pedestrians or passengers?
It's free. We don't charge anything. Anybody who wants to join, because it's about our road. So we have some few members, and
So what do you do as an association? What's the benefit of joining there?
One is only to discuss about our roads, because you see, like when we talk of corporates, these people who come to work, you use these roads. When an accident happens, your corporate will miss an employee because of this road accident. So it is more important. And, anything discussed we can solve problems by discussing. So when we discuss about these issues, we know what is affecting us, what can we do. For instance, Road Safety Association was really, when NTSA was coming up, we really pushed or lobbied for it because we knew the benefit of having a body, a regulation body in our country, because we didn't have. Yeah.
Okay. I think also by the time now you were coming together, then it appears to me as though, there were problems. There were things that were being realized. There were issues, accidents back and forth, whether it was looking at the welfare of pedestrians, those who were using, non-motorized vehicles, things like that. So what was the state, the situation before formation of this?
Yeah, I want to tell you the state was very serious. And as the numbers, by then, we were talking of figures of 2,000 people killed in a year. And that was a very big number. And that is how you saw Michuki coming, very powerful. And now we were able to form this association so that we support whatever he wanted. And we really did it. It really worked. And we were able to see a number of decrease in accidents. And because everybody was in support by that time. So what I mean by that time, because you cannot compare that time and this time. Because when we talk of road safety, it is about everybody's responsibility. It is not about the police. It's not about NTSA. It's not about even you yourself. It is us to be responsible so that we are able to change our culture, our attitude towards our roads, and things can change.
A lot has been written in today's paper. Ndu, you can maybe just highlight that story in today's paper. And also, the BBC Africa Eye released the documentary called Kenya's Killer Roads, which was also actually starring David Carey and Richard Chacha, who will be joining us. And it takes us through the journey of somebody who goes to try and procure a driving license without having sat through any driving class, without even going through any driving tests. They pay money and then they get a driving license. That is one. Another one where a completely unroadworthy vehicle is taken through inspection.
Passes.
And it goes and it passes and it receives an NTSA certification that it is certified to be on the road. This vehicle does not even have a functioning gearbox. But it ends up there. And it comes out. So in both instances, they're highlighting the weaknesses in the system, all leading into the National Transport and Safety Authority, which NTSA is the one that has issued this driving license, Smart DL, to somebody who had not even sat an exam. And there's the driving school, which is also being highlighted here, and somebody in the driving school who just sits and says, you sijali bana. Si mimi ndio nakwambia. Si ni mimi nakwambia boss. Unajali nini? Pays money, gets the DL. Another one, a guy who's a fixer, you pay money and you get your NTSA PSV license to be on the road. Exposing this. What is this story on the Standard saying?
Well, we're looking at 2021 as the year that had the highest number of fatalities reported in a period of 5 years, right? And of course, this is being attributed to some of the things that you're talking about. During the year, the number of people killed on Kenyan roads went up by more than 20% compared to 2020, more than 4,000 deaths. I mean, you gave us a number of 2,000, David, and over 16,000 injuries were reported. So again, coming from this story, there was looking at the Dagger operation with an aim of uncovering the filth in Kenya's transport sector that continues to claim lives. We're looking at now some of the numbers, right? Between January 1st and March 20th, 2020, 95 drivers lose their lives compared to 100 during the same period, 2021. Between January 1st to March 20th, 2022, 359 pedestrians died compared to 299 during the same period in 2021. 154 passengers died between the same period compared to 163 in 2021. 289 is the number of motorcyclists who died between January and March compared to 245 last year. Pillion passengers perished 109 compared to 80 during the same period. 15 pedal cyclists died in the same period compared to 27 in 2021. 749 passengers seriously injured compared to 589. 563 motorcyclists seriously injured. 330 pedestrians seriously injured. 210 drivers seriously injured in road accidents between January and March 2022 compared to 205 in the same year. Shedding light on several things here in terms of the very little money you have to pay compared to the loss of life, the amount of money spent in hospitals seeking care because of injuries, and time lost because now having to sit at home, time and money, livelihoods affected, lost because of having to sit at home to nurse these injuries, right? So the money spent to procure these things really illegally, incomparable to the money then have to be spent, whether it's medical care, whether it's loss of livelihood and things like this, right? Also shedding light on the PSV industry in the country. All vehicles are supposed to pass an annual NTSA safety check to be declared fit to be on the road or unroadworthy. However, some of the systems are corrupted, and with a few coins, a completely written off vehicle can be given a new lease of life to operate. You said, David, that the country will continue losing lives if corruption in driving schools, for example, and motor inspection is not stopped. NTSA still says it has a zero tolerance policy towards corruption, and says that they are also investigating the wrongdoing upon which light has been shed by this expose.
There's a lot here. There's a lot, and the focus here is today on the NTSA, right? Because that's why, David, you're saying there are people who should not be driving, and yet they're behind the wheels on Kenyan roads. There are vehicles that should not be on the road, and yet they've been licensed to be on the road. You went through with the BBC, and also you spoke to the Standard on this particular story. What exactly did you, I mean, even as a chairman of the association, how deep is this rot?
To be sincere, it is very much deep, because we are only talking of the vehicle which was exposed by the BBC. But before this, I personally had taken a vehicle to Thika Inspection Center, and it was a lorry, and it was exposed during that time, and it passed because I just paid 6,000 and the vehicle passed. And I did so many letters to NTSA, to the ministry, everywhere. And what happened, the in charge of that station was transferred to another station. And, the corruption...
So after exposing this corruption, the only thing that was done was move the
just
officer
moving the officer from Thika to Nyeri. So you just you take the same corrupt officer somewhere else. But unless... Because when we talk of NTSA, we are not talking, we have people in NTSA who are working. All these institutions, we have bad people in all the institutions. Even if you go to a church, you'll find a pastor who does things which are not supposed to be done. But the right thing is to make sure that those people who are caught are fired. And that will make others fear to do the same things. Because when we are talking of you can give somebody a license to go on our road and drive, what are you doing? You are a murderer. You want people to die. You want to kill people. When you allow a vehicle which is unroadworthy. And remember, this vehicle in Kenya, the heavy commercial vehicles and PSV go for inspections once in a year. And they are inspected, they're supposed to be inspected from ball joint, everything. So that when those vehicles are on the road, at least as a driver and you're driving your vehicle, you are assured that these vehicles are safe, even the time you are passing those vehicles. But imagine, a vehicle has not been checked. That is killing, and that is what is killing this country. This is the problem we have.
Is there a direct correlation? And to look at these numbers that we are seeing, because these are clear numbers that have been collected in the country. Is there a direct relation between these accidents, deaths, injuries that we've seen, and incompetent driving and unroadworthy vehicles.
That is perfect. It is.
Or are we saying that there are other factors that could have affected these numbers?
There are many factors. There are many factors, not only these.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the factors, like the driving license. You know, a vehicle is a machine, is something which it is directed where to go. And the person who drives this vehicle, not well trained, can cause death.
Sure.
Anytime, anywhere. And that is why you see, even in other countries, for you to have a license, you earn. You are not just given. They must make sure that you are competent. And also, even yearly, you are checked as a driver, because maybe in between there you have a problem with the eyes, you have another problem, you are sick, there are other diseases whereby you are not even supposed to drive. But when we talk of whatever we have seen, whatever has been exposed, there are so many other factors. For instance, in Kenya, and I said in another place, we have about 105 black spots. How do we agree, and the government agrees, and they write a board, this is a black spot? And you tell people that people die here. Seriously. That and all that is the design of the roads. You know, such small things. And I gave an example today, because we used to have so many deaths on what you call Nyeri River.
Yep.
You remember every time we were talking about Nyeri Bridge. When we lobbied, seriously lobbying, because all what was supposed to be done there, even not spending much money. And when they did exactly what was supposed to be done, we have now about 3 years. We have never discussed about Nyeri River.
What did they do?
Because these are just designs, road designs. You know, they separated. Just separation of vehicles which are coming and the ones which are going down. So that if this vehicle has a problem, will not cause that problem to the vehicle which is the oncoming vehicle. So there are small things which can be done, which are not done. So when we are talking about road safety, there are many factors.
Is it the same lobbying that if you leave Salga and you're heading towards Kericho, there was a similar demarcation where in the middle of the road they actually put barriers?
Yes.
So that even if, because it's a long downward drive, so that even if a vehicle loses control, the likelihood of it ramming into these other vehicles on the other side is minimized completely. Because there'll be a barrier that you'll come into contact
with. And even banks now that have been put
but
on the side.
Still they did not. But still they did not do what we wanted done on Salga, because you see that's a downhill. So if you go to other countries, they put what we call crash areas, so that when the vehicle loses balance, you can put your vehicle on the crash area.
I've seen them.
That means
there are two on Salga.
Exactly.
There are two crash areas where it's a section on the end of the road, on the edge of the road, which has been created and it's clearly marked crash area. So the vehicle can veer off.
You as a driver, and the vehicle has, sometimes you have lost control. You can drive your vehicle to that side. But there are so many factors. Why do vehicles lose control? Have you asked yourself? Some things are common sense. We use even substandard things. Reflectors are substandard. The oil we are using, the brakes, and all these. If you get them and they are being made here in Kariobangi and they are fixed in your vehicle, and may even you don't know, and the time you try to apply your brakes, my friend, it starts smoking. That tells you it's a direct death. So there are so many things to be done.
Getting the brake and the party.
Or a color.
It's a color. I'm glad you bring out the issue of unmotorable roads. Because, we always keep talking about, it's a driver error, the drivers who should not be on the road, the drivers who have bad habits, the Kenyan driving habits, and then we talk about the vehicles that should not be on the road, and the police have allowed them. But the road itself is a cause of accidents.
Yes.
To what extent should we be highlighting this? Because I think, there are very many, just like you're talking about, it's design of the road, and the issue has been highlighted, and it takes a lot of public pressure Ngong Road is one, and we were talking about it just the other day. You've talked about Nithi. We've talked about Salga. For very many years, Salga has been a black spot. We talk about Karai going to Naivasha.
Yeah, sure.
They come and just one day erect bumps. Next thing, a truck just comes and plows into vehicles and bursts into flame. Many people die.
Killing 46 that time. 46 died on the spot.
And what has been done at Karai? Nothing much.
No, what we did, we went to court because of that case of Karai. The association went to court. We won that case, and it was now the county government and the national government to make sure that they put proper signs, because that driver was coming from Uganda and he did not know about this road, and then all of a sudden
the road before, and it was
and he had used this road, but the bumps were constructed a few days. When he's coming, he's thinking the road is still clear, and then he goes over the bumps, and then the vehicle goes to flame. So there are things, and even the signs you are changing. The road signs must be there, and that's why we are saying it is very important for our schools. And you have seen cases going on, and my question is just one: why did Michuki succeed? We always talk of Michuki rules. What made Michuki succeed? It was very simple. He was given support from every quarter. Now, we started an NTSA as a body because when we were planning and saying, if we have a body, if one man could succeed, what about if we have an authority? Then it will be easier. But immediately we formed this authority. Then things started coming from different quarters. Because why? You have brought alcohol. Who drinks at night? They are the people with money. That is why you saw the first case was taken by lawyers. They want to remove the alcohol on the road. Why? You are interfering with them.
With their
and then accidentally a senior judge was arrested in Thika Road. And within a short time, NTSA have been removed on the road. So it has to be serious.
So we sabotage our own selves.
We sabotage them. The other day, we saw a case in our papers whereby driving schools went to court. And they succeeded in that case.
What was the case?
And, they were complaining, NTSA, they are harassing them, and now the NTSA should not be involved in these driving schools and whatever. And don't forget, we have gone for 2 years coming up with a curriculum, because we realized that the driver in Mombasa, the way he's taught, is different from a driver in Kisumu. So we came up with a curriculum so that any student going to school, you are taught the same thing.
Same uniformity.
You understand? Who is supposed to test you? Is those the same NTSA guys? Let me tell you, yes, we have corrupt officers there. And we should remove them. We also have like the driving schools you hear. Not that all those driving schools are bad, and not meaning that because they were captured there, because that is an employee, to be very sincere. And when you're employed and you want to do bad things, the only thing is
what
to
does
make
the
sure
institution do?
What do they do? Now, it has been exposed. We have written so many letters to them. And when they went to court, and they won the case anyway, that today, I don't think you can get a license now, because it was stopped. And even if they win that case, the fact is that our drivers are not trained properly. And me was suggesting, why can't our drivers even be trained by National Youth Service? Surely, because we are talking of lives. Here you people, you are talking about 4,500. The association refused the figures. And we were on air. We said, no, the figures were not 4,500.
So
we will believe the figures were 5,000 or above 5,500. Those are the people who died. Because what does the police do? The people who die on the spot, those are the people who are counted. But you forget there are people who are taken to hospital and they don't make it.
Die thereafter.
You understand?
Yeah.
They don't make it. So when we talk about 16,000 people who will never walk again, is something which should be discussed, my friend. When you talk about 5,500 people have lost their lives, that is a whole village. We have wiped a whole village within a second. So this is something which should be discussed with seriousness.
That's true. Let's take a break at this point. It's 9:30, Kenya's biggest conversation. David Kerry is the chairman of the Road Safety Association of Kenya. He is here with us because we are discussing road safety, the killer roads of Kenya, a story done by BBC Africa Eye, and then also done by the Standard Group and the Standard newspaper today. What is happening on our roads? A story really exposing the kind of rot and corruption that happens in terms of people procuring driving licenses, people procuring road transport authority licenses to be on the road, that's the PSV licenses, and all manner of things that are happening in our country. We'll be back with this conversation shortly. Keep it right here.
I like listening to you guys. You're the default radio station in my car in the morning. Even the children listen to you guys.
I agree Parliament has failed this country, and I will say it again. We have not done what we should have done.
We know in this country, the Kenya prison sector is one of the most underfunded sector.
The way it is being done and the way we're calling it Huduma Number the Msema Kweli is because all records will be there. You know, there are people who are now billionaires with no history as to how they got all these assets.
Yes. Anything that the president does that is not in accord with the constitution is an illegal act. You know, he shouldn't be doing it and he shouldn't be sitting here and trying to sort of guise it up.
I totally believe live transmission of results and allowing Kenyans to be able to view all these results. I believe that it will be impossible to steal elections.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Clouds up, partly sunny conditions in Nairobi at 20, highs of 27 and lows of 15. It's 21 and sunny in Nakuru. We'll see highs of 30 and lows of 15. 13 will be the low in a sunny Nyeri, highs of 27 today. And we'll see highs of 27 as well in Eldoret, where it's sunny at 22, coming down to lows of 13. Light rain now coming back and in Mombasa at 29. We'll see highs of 33 and lows of 26, while it's also raining in Malindi at 30, highs of 32 and lows of 27. After the rain comes the sun in Kisumu at 24, highs of 28 and lows of 19, and it's sunny in Kakamega at 25. 29 will be the high and lows of 16. All right, it's raining in Kampala at 21, highs of 26 and lows of 18, while light rain now in Dar es Salaam at 29, 32 will be the high and lows of 25. Sunny conditions at 15 in Johannesburg, 22 will be the high and lows of 12, while it's mostly cloudy at 27 in Lagos, 33 will be the high today. It's sunny at 25 in Kinshasa, 32 will be the high and lows of 24, and we're looking at sunny conditions at 10 in Beijing, 11 with lows of -1. It's sunny at 6 in Paris, 19 will be the high and lows of 5, while it's hazy still over London. At 8 degrees, we'll see highs of 19. We'll round things out in the Big Apple, where it's cloudy at 11. Still Monday night, coming into Tuesday, we'll see highs of 15 and lows of 5.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
On the tail end of traffic hour this morning, we're still seeing heavy traffic on North Airport Road today. It's feeding off onto Outer Ring, but that will not be too bad from what we see. We're not going to see that outbound Imara Daima traffic area off Mombasa Road today, and that continues for some time. Langata Road still heavy, getting towards the Timor roundabout, but then you should be all right. It's heading off into the city. We'll have some traffic on Rilo Dingo Way going towards Gong Road, and Uhuru Highway continues. Westlands still an issue this morning, as well as a little bit here and there around Muthaiga Square going towards the Pangani Underpass over Thika Road. All right, through the morning, talk to us, guys. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Mornings done right.
24 minutes to time.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Latiff Okoh, CT Muga. Our guest this hour is David Carey, Chairman of the Road Safety Association of Kenya. We are talking about the killer roads of Kenya. What's happening on our roads? Is it because of corruption? Is it because of just bad behavior, bad driving behavior? Is it because of bad design of our roads? Is it because of poor maintenance of the roads? Is it a combination of all those things? Also joining us on the line is journalist Richard Chacha, who is joining us. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning to you, Eric.
Good to hear from you, brother. How you doing?
Very well, thank you so much. How are you?
Very well. Welcome to the conversation. We've been talking here with David, and we have basically been looking at the various aspects of road safety and issues of road accidents. Richard, tell us your own experience with accidents on the road.
Well, it's a sorry state, Eric, especially after what has been announced by BBC. You look at the causes, and you know the people who actually cause road accidents are there sitting in offices and the traffic policemen on the road. These senseless killings should never happen. Because if people are to be straightforward and apply the law as it is, then we wouldn't be having all this. Look at the number of drivers on the road who get licenses through the back door, through corrupt means, and you see what happens. In my own case, in the accident that I was involved in 2012, we had a tire burst, and there was the driver was trying to control the vehicle in the middle. In the middle of the road, and there was a speeding matatu oncoming. So to avoid a head-on collision, the driver lost control of the vehicle, and that's how it happened. Now look at these people who are so careless on the road. You may be a law-abiding driver, you have everything in order, your car is in good shape, but you see those rogue drivers will lead you to causing accidents on the road. And that's how people die, that's how people get injured, permanent injuries, like the one I have.
So, Richard, from your analysis, what is the number one contributor of the road accidents in the country?
In my view, it's the drivers. The drivers who get on our road under influence of either alcohol or other substances, people who are greedy, looking to make quick cash, overloading vehicles, and the policemen just wave on the vehicles as they are overloaded. And we are also to blame, for instance, for public service vehicles. We passengers also take the blame because you see a driver speeding, swerving, carelessly driving, and you're all quiet. You will find sorry to say, youngsters will be cheering on the driver as he goes on with loud music, and that's how most of these accidents happen. So, number one, the drivers, then you trace it back to NTSA, and now and the policemen on the road.
It's very strange. When you look at the discussion around the causes of accidents, everything we're discussing here is an aftermath. It's a consequence. It's the manifestations of a bigger problem. You want to ask about the real cost of corruption. You want to ask why people are corrupt. You want to ask what is it that happens when corruption is accepted as the norm in a country now. And what is it that makes people accept corruption as the norm in the country? And do they understand the eventual cost of it? All these things that we talk about, they are tied in with every other discussion. When you talk about corruption in the prison services, when you talk about corruption at KEMSA, when you talk about corruption in the Kenya Ports Authority, when you talk about corruption at KENHA, Kera, they're all tied in. Because at some point in the history of this country, all the things that we've heard being said about driving, they were uniform. If you took a driving test in Nyeri, and you went to Garbatula, and then you went to Kajiado, and then you went to Bungoma, then you came to Kisumu, and then went to Murang'a, it was the same. You knew exactly what you were supposed to do. Somewhere along the line, this commercial element that we like labeling as corruption came in. So yes, you would go for the driving test, but even as you paid for your driving training, you paid for the license at the same time.
Yeah.
So the need to rigorously understand what was required of you as a road user started to go out of the window bit by bit by bit, to the point where it stopped being an issue. Because the process of getting a license was, you actually studied for it. You didn't just get a license. And you're trained in all aspects of driving. Now, ask yourself the question, what is it that makes people accept this? Michuki was successful because, as you say correctly, he had support. From who? The Mwananchi. The Mwananchi was willing to walk. They said, we're not putting up with this nonsense, the matatus. We will walk. As somebody who grew up in Mombasa, I recall when a matatu would stop at the bus stop and it was full, they would just be told, carry on. And then when music came to the matatus, it would stop and you'd be asked, "Yo gari kuna muziki?" If the music isn't to their liking, continue. The passenger was not willing to be squeezed in the matatu. They'll just please continue. I will wait for the next matatu. Now, what is it that makes us comfortable, or what is it that makes us put up with inconveniences for ourselves? We've seen people queuing peacefully to board matatus, and we've seen people rushing to board matatus. The queuing came with the Michuki rules. Kenyans have a tendency of being two duplicitous things. One, we're actually very good at complying with the law, but we're also terrible at complying with it when it suits our purposes.
When the law acts, we
comply.
We will support.
That's why we would have a face mask on our chin. It's for compliance. So when you see a policeman, you pull it up to your face.
It's interesting that you say that. And even I'm listening to you, Richard, even as you've given what your experience was. Do you find that after 2012 that you realized really how terrible things are on the road? And I think it's interesting that above all of this, you point to one of the factors that was mentioned in this expose about rogue drivers. That people are just not taking care, or people are just not, either one, never had the experience, or number two, have chucked all of that in terms of laws out the window. Do you find that you paid a little bit more attention to this after the experience that you went through personally, Richard?
Yes, I do pay a lot of attention, especially when someone is driving me. When I'm in a vehicle, I am very careful and give instructions. I even shout instructions to other drivers. I'm like, what is the hurry? Why are you driving like this? I've seen a lot, and I've even stopped to address police officers on the road, traffic police officers, and just telling them, how do you let that guy go and people are hanging outside? The car is clearly overloaded. The matatu is clearly overloaded, and it has just passed you here. Why would you do that? So I'm more alert now to whatever happens, what happens around me, especially when I'm on the road. I visit. I've been to hospitals. I've been to a spinal injury hospital. I've seen how people are suffering. I get to a point where I don't remember which country where people are forced to go to prison and visit the corrupt who have been jailed. So I think some of these drivers should also be taken to some of these hospitals and see what they have, what pain they're causing because of their reckless driving.
You said something there, Richard. Enforcement, and there's apparent laxity in enforcement. So it's even not uniform. There's police officers at some point will allow vehicles to pass. NTSA at some point, some rogue officers will issue these driving licenses, will issue the PSV licenses to vehicles on the road. So there's a lot of issues on enforcement here that are just not working as they should. But this is not a new conversation, Richard. This is a conversation that has been there for many, many, many years. What is it that would be needed then to turn this wheel around and make sure that when we talk about enforcement, there is proper, strict enforcement by all traffic police officers or all officers of the law on the road? All authorities that are required to be playing a part here are also doing what they're supposed to be doing. What do we need to get there?
I don't know. I think the first thing is perhaps to dream that we can get Michuki back to life. Because that is one person who we all remember made a mark. You know, from the top there, we need some serious people, some people who can who can change. Some people who perhaps instill fear in their juniors along the way, right from NTSA to the road, and just ensure, even if it means people leaving, the minister and top officers leaving the comfort of their offices to go and supervise along the way. I mean, on the roads and see what is happening. The public also needs to be to be educated. I mean, people should know that it's their responsibility, because you are in a matatu, things are going wrong, you're keeping quiet, and if hell breaks loose, you lose your life, you get injured, or even your close family members will get injured. Some of these, some of you can see. If I mean, I've been around for a while, and I know how police officers, I mean, even bribed to be assigned
traffic
duties, their duties on the road, let alone traffic, even duties on the road, so that they can collect money. That kind of that greed. People want to work at NTSA because there is quick money to make, but little do they know that they are actually killing. They are killing people.
But Richard, you've gotten to the heart of the matter. We are asking for almost the near impossibilities. How do you change people's hearts? How do you get people to value lives more than the acquisition of material things? Because people want money because money enables them to do certain things. And everything that we're discussing is because somebody wants to make more money than they're actually earning.
I think we should have longer jail terms for offenders. And people should actually. There is this aspect of communication. I mean, we need to make sure that all these messages go out there. It's not enough to put a wreckage of a car along the road and remind people that this will happen. When you arrest people, remember the Michuki time. Passengers were arrested because the excess passengers were gotten out of vehicles and fined. That's where we should go. Drivers who flout traffic rules should be arrested. Those vehicles should be impounded. We want to see circles banned. We want to see action. I think we need someone more proactive in NTSA and the Ministry of Transport. I think people should start getting these things seriously.
As Richard is saying, one, you should know that we must have goodwill. Every time we say of the goodwill of the politicians, and that is what made Michuki succeed. But in this case, we don't have that goodwill. Because you see, I don't know whether it is because President Kibaki had an accident before he came to power, because you see, Michuki was very powerful during that time, and that goodwill means a lot. And in this case, we don't have that goodwill. And I want to give you an example. Just the other day, we started a crackdown. A crackdown was started. First of all, why do we have crackdowns in this country? When an accident happens, the following day, we have a crackdown. We have crackdown all over. It should be every day a vehicle should not be on the road as long as it is unroadworthy. So this thing should be there. But look, because of political whatever, we are going to the electioneering year. Within a time, it was stopped. And the people celebrated. The Matatu people celebrated. But what I'm telling them, they celebrated, but check this space. How many people are going to lose their lives? Because you want to, the politicians have removed the crackdowns so that you are happy. If you can ask Richard how much money he has spent in hospitals, you will be surprised. And this money is not paid by the government. It is you as a person. Ask me, I had an accident. The kind of money you spend is a lot through these accidents. And people should know that. And drivers should know that. And this is with what Richard was saying. I think it is good sometimes. We take these drivers and these officers to the hospitals. They see themselves. What is happening, the pain people are going through.
It's interesting that you say that because as we looked at some of these statistics, one of the things you said is that, okay, so they said 4,500 have lost their lives over the last 12 months. But you're saying that number could be much higher. We have an example this morning on one of the traffic routes that we use of a gentleman who had an accident a month ago. He died this morning. He died today after having been in hospital for a month. So look at that medical treatment that he's received over the last 30 days. The amount of money that his family obviously would have spent in terms of care, and then having to lose your life because of your injuries thereafter. So some of these things are not then taken into consideration. When we talk about the state of the roads, when we talk about the state of drivers, when we talk about the care that's obviously not applied, I don't think we get it. Across board. I don't think we get it.
We don't.
How serious it is.
We don't internalize this.
We don't internalize it. It's an accident. You see the wreckage. You say, oh, all right, it's done.
You move on.
The person who caused it, okay, maybe you get a slap on the wrist. And then you go and...
Okay.
Imagine, you who may have caused the accident, you may be remorseful in the moment, but do you take into consideration the things that have happened as a result of that?
What is it that has made us this insensitive?
The sanctity of life has been chucked out of the window quite a while ago, I think.
And another example I want to tell you. Look at the Ministry of Health when COVID came. Since COVID, we started discussing about COVID. We have lost about 5,000 people. But here we are talking of 1 year, losing more than 5,000 people in a year. So how many people have we lost? Seriously, roads are killing more people, even more than COVID. But let me tell you, look at the campaign which was there during COVID. Why? Because there was aid coming from outside. But when we talk of accident in this country, there is no aid coming from outside. Nobody is interested in it.
It's a localized issue.
That is, the game is over.
What do you do as the association in terms of increasing this awareness? Because I even hear what Richard is saying. Every time I pass by somewhere and I see police have gone and picked a very bad old wreckage and placed it somewhere, hoisted it somewhere in the middle of the road, I'm like, this does not communicate. To me, this just looks like scrap metal. It doesn't tell me that this was an accident that caused this, that there's a story behind it. Maybe there was a child, there's somebody who died, there's somebody who got maimed for life. It doesn't tell that story.
But listen, what made you fear COVID and have that mask? It was the civic education.
Yes.
Every media was talking about it. All our politicians were talking about it. Our president himself was in it. We could see the CA's health in it. So everybody was well educated. What about our roads? Who is the CS of transport today? Is Machari. Have you ever heard him that there is an accident? He went, he has talked? Nothing. No, he's just there as a minister of transport. Today, ask me who is the PS of transport. I don't know, and I am in the sector. So what I want to tell you is that I want to tell you
it's because Professor Maringa. You don't know.
You will not never know because you will never hear them even trying to say something. The way we could see, everybody could know that in Coast we have lost 500 people in Coast, and there are 600 in hospital. In Kajiado the same. Today, if an accident happens in Mombasa Road and those things are removed there. You'll just come and you'll not know there's anything has happened there. So it is good if the government can take this initiative to make sure that civic education is very important. And this can be done by our government. The same way they did with COVID. If they do it, and here they are not going to spend a lot of money. The other one, they had to spend money with the drugs, injections, with these, whatever. Nothing. It's just educating our people.
Richard, as we conclude, what would be your closing remarks, a final message this morning to everybody who's listening?
My final message is that heads should roll after this. We should see heads rolling. We should see a reshuffle at NTSA. We need to have more serious and sensitive people in those offices. We want to see. I wish we could just get hold of all these people and get them to watch what has been happening. And I wish BBC had more time just to show what people go through in hospitals, what those people who are living with permanent injuries are going through on a daily basis. So we need a proactive CS, like David has said. We need a proactive. We saw Michuki boarding a matatu and demonstrating how to put on a seatbelt. Do we even have the seatbelts these days? And do we even have people arrested because they are not on seatbelts? No, we do not have that anymore. So we need to have a total change, total overhaul of the system, transport system, right from the top down to the guy who is in charge of traffic police officers.
Thank you for those words, Richard. Richard Chacha is a journalist. He's a road traffic accident survivor. And we've also been having in the studio David Carey, chairman of the Road Safety Association of Kenya, talking about accidents on our roads and road safety, making sure that all of us play a part that we ought to play. Let's conclude the conversation today with reminding you about where and how you can get Cipladone and what for.
Indeed, what it's for, taking care of those aches and pains, headaches and associated with cold and flu, back pain and period pain as well. A 2 times faster working paracetamol. It's effervescent. Put it in some water and then you take it and it sorts out that pain twice as fast. You can get it at all good pharmacies and Chandarana supermarkets. But don't forget, if symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Indeed. City, the hyena and the 2 antelopes.
Well, the hyena and the hyena hole. The hyena chasing 2 antelopes in the morning will go hungry.
This one is from Mali.
I like this proverb.
It was written by the hyenas. Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today. Join us again tomorrow morning. We'll be here bright and early. Good morning. It's 10 o'clock.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is Muzwa. I'm Dennis.